15.
Okay. All right. Welcome back to the Resonant State, the most popular podcast on earth, in my mind, which is all that matters. But join again in our continuing deep dive into the Manchurian candidate, declassified documents, etc. And we're joined by, of course, the godfather of research, William Ramsey, and Sean McCann of Wake the Dead podcast. And we're just going to continue this journey. There's been a lot of different threads. Many of these threads and individuals and people, these can all be traced out into a vast tapestry. But at this point, we're just kind of tying together some of these things and revealing how far back this stuff started. And that, in fact, MK Ultra, they already had a very advanced framework, and this lends credence to the argument that MK Ultra was actually a mass operation. This is primarily dealing with individuals. But without further ado, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be back with you guys. Thanks for having me.
I just wanted to say that this has been wonderful, and I'm glad to be on number 15 now. This is great. And we've tracked it from, this is the government's official understanding of how to make a human into a weapon. And we started with, I wonder if scopolamine will do anything. Oh, let's see if this will work. And now they're like, how do we make them sink battleships? How do we make them, operant in our world order of chaos and, death cult? Basically. So this is just wonderful to see the documents. I mean, this has been fantastic, and just thank you again.
Yeah, the Black Awakening, just like we mentioned earlier.
Yes.
It feels like that. And I'm glad you brought up the battleship or the submarine stuff that we talked about earlier, because once we get to William Joseph Bryan, which I think we'll get to, I have a little side thing about him in a plane crash in 1966, I believe is the date. And a book I think you guys will find really interesting, a little reading. But the potential for misuse, abuse, and downright diabolical actions are here. And a lot of these characters are really important that we've mentioned. Esther Brooks is really the primary guy. Even McGowan mentions him, Erickson, and hopefully today we'll get to two other ones. William Joseph Bryan, who, if you remember, was the advisor on the original Manchurian Candidate movie, friends with Sinatra, Bailey, Belli, going to these things, which we'll see later on in this. These hypnotic conventions were a big thing. I don't know if they still are, but we'll see some newer names, like I mentioned, William Joseph Bryan and Kroger, both very important, and also involved in one of the themes of this FBI document, which is the application of hypnosis to solving crimes. And we'll see that with William Saul Kroger and this famous abduction of a bus in Vacaville that happened in Northern California. And there's some, like, I think one of the Dirty Harry movies kind of portrays something like that, this bus abduction. I think the original one, but it involved William S. Kroger, who's mentioned in this document.
Just before we dive in, I'll just say a few things. I've been getting into the fact that a lot of this research, which goes in directly into the Macy conferences, the first conference on cerebral inhibition is another term for hypnosis. But what is, you could say, really disturbing about what's called second order cybernetics is this has actually been implemented. Now, maybe just accidentally, but it's implemented into many, many types of therapy. It's implemented into the education system. It is directly implemented into things such as online gambling, such as, phone gambling, pornography, DEI, whatever. This is all second order cybernetics, and it all follows directly upon these patterns. And so I just say there's a therapy called EMDR. It's rapid eye movement therapy. And the lady I had on the show, she mentioned it. I started looking it up. First of all, the language, it's all cybernetic language. It turns out it's actually based on B.F. Skinner exposure therapy. And so people are going to this therapist and this whole thing, right? You know, I told Sean about this. Yeah, we talked about that. But that's an example of these models being integrated into large scale social systems. So it's not simply just now we have sort of the opening phase where you're looking at the individual. And I would say that the MK Ultra, along with going forward with counterculture, et cetera, this has now gone into the mass level. But again, these are techniques and technologies that you don't have to be completely asleep, you know, or killing somebody or running down the street naked. You know, you can be in a mild hypnotic trance that you're completely unknown to yourself and you're receiving commands. You don't even know there's a command. You just start doing something. You don't even think about it. And so this is really the beginnings of this. So I'll leave it there. Yeah.
It's an interesting intro, and it brings to mind the episodes we did. I think it was 8 parts, which is MK Ultra for the masses. Music is the weapon. We talked about that, and I think it's notable because I think within the last week, one of the founding members of the Grateful Dead passed away, Bob Weir. And I had a weird kind of connection when I was in college. I was a valet at a high-end hotel, and I drove his car. I drove all these guys' car because they would rent out the top. And Bob Weir had the penthouse suite in a very nice hotel. And I used to have to bring them all, like, their valet service their cars and stuff. But I remember him. It's kind of weird because they were all famous, but they let us just drive their cars and stuff like that. But I remember listening, just a little vignette is listening to the Joshua Tree. He was listening to U2's Joshua Tree, which was kind of late 80s or something like that. So I found that kind of weird. It hasn't aged well. I don't think the reputation of U2 has aged well as like that, but I used to like that album, so I admit to that. But anyway,
no offense.
It's okay. I'm not offended. I actually like the backside of that album more than the front side, more than what they play on the radio. But it's just an interesting thing being around those guys, and just a lot of a lot of weed.
It's funny because like U2 is directly connected to the like if you look at the Dave McGowan stuff of Laurel Canyon, U2 is like the British version. They're like, they say they're Irish and they're like related to British royals. Like it's so freaking, god damn it. Like, I mean, it's gross.
And he has weird entree, like he's pictured with all kinds of like, high society type people all the time. It's very strange.
Oh yeah, Bono with the Pope and all that, like Mother Teresa, these people. Okay,
his sunglasses, Bono, like,
yeah,
Bob Weir,
Houston,
Bob Weir though, the counterculture member of the Bohemian Grove. That's about as counterculture as it gets there.
Yeah,
but
his Welshmerts, he called it in that quote, that clip. You remember seeing that clip talking about going there? His Welshmerts. He used that word on the radio just to like prove he's one of them.
Right. Wasn't he in the same kind of club there? Like it's divided into smaller clubs. I think he was there with George H.W. Bush. I think he was in the same club as Bush, if I remember correctly.
Probably.
Which is very weird. A lot of people don't know this. They always talk about the Bohemian Club up in Sonoma, but they have a very Tony, very nice high-end club in San Francisco, and it's very exclusive, and it's literally right next to the Olympic Club, which is another kind of exclusive club that Newsom kind of went through, Gruesome Newsom. But they always kind of leave that out in their commentary because it doesn't have this huge creepy owl, but it is creepy. It has the motif. I've actually been in there, and it has that kind of secret society motif of a kind of a closed room with the fireplace and high-end leather chairs. There's something the way that these guys design this stuff. These elite guys, they love that kind of view. And if you watch the end of The Good Shepherd, it ends with like this wasp guy almost in an exact replica of the study room or the kind of club room inside the downtown Bohemian Club in San Francisco. It's crazy.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And just to say that, like we're living in the fruits of all these years of experiments. Okay.
Yeah.
And so far in January, in case anybody wants to know, 22 mass shootings already, off to a good start. You know, no, I mean, it's a 22 mass shootings. Has anybody heard of any of these? Most likely no, right? Um, and many of them are gunmen unknown. But the other thing is, just because I've been watching these videos of people going through the European capitals, I think I mentioned that before, but I mean, you look, Brussels, 70%, they're all Muslim. You get these towns in Germany, they're just trashed. Okay. And it's like, is there any way to inhibit your basic survival instinct? Well, it's been proven that hypnosis will do this, right? You'll sink a submarine if you're hypnotized. So, we'll see. Things are everything's in play, but I think that part of the thing is that keeping the hypnosis hidden. I think what we're doing in the show is starting to reveal it, and knowledge is definitely power in this space. So I wish everyone to be non-hypnotized, right?
Right.
And they're going to have to really amp it up before this 2030. They've been advertising 2030s the year for all this, like for the past 20 years. They're like 2030s when we're going to have it, guys. Get ready. So we got 4 more years. Good luck, man. Let's keep fingers crossed. Let's hope we survive.
Yeah, I did a show for Billy Ray Valentine. It's on his thing. It's called the D-Hypno Program, which I have my logo was a TV with like an X across it. So people can check that out on my podcast. So I kind of had this, like, instead of the hypno program, the D-Hypno Program. But yeah, so it's kind of coming to, like, that's the whole thing about human beings, or a lot of even like this ascension of our life's calling is this kind of like awakening process. And I think part of the acknowledgement of hypnotic effects and things like that is a form of awakening. Like, so it doesn't happen to you. We watched that one with the big guy, whatever, Tony Robbins, doing this Ericksonian hypnosis, which doesn't look like the guy holding the watch or talking to you, but something different, like this kind of shocking grab and then the suggestion, right? So learning these techniques, a lot of that stuff is used in sales too, or a lot of kind of, you want to get your customer into a suggestible state so you can tell them what to do. So it's very important to understand these kind of dark persuasion techniques.
One more thing about Tony Robbins. I don't know if we brought it up earlier, but Tony Robbins promoted a technique of breathing together with your partner, and like using that to I forget exactly what the reason was, but I went and looked it up in that Cult and Occult book. I was looking in the book for Kubrick stuff because it's the one that Kubrick was using for Eyes Wide Shut. And there's a piece in there about an occultist who teaches about breathing in unison with someone else to get control over their will. Like it's the same as what this guy was teaching. It was very interesting. I posted on X, I think, maybe a long time ago.
Well, no, there's a tantra technique, right? Where, that's one thing, but okay, it's one thing if you're with your significant other, with your furry
Someone
significant
you
furry.
trust. Right?
At Mar-a-Lago with a furry. I trust my furry. But the thing is that, okay, so, we just simple things, entrainment, right? You have entrainment, and then, like Mesmer, okay, the animal magnetism, that's pseudoscience. However, it's not a fluid, it's the electromagnetic field around the body. It's electromagnetic field in the brain, which is absolutely real, right? But these intersections, and again, a lot of the stuff now is installed in the neurophysiology, base of the brainstem, reflex level, right? A lot of this stuff now, once you get that, then the conscious mind cannot really do much when it's in the body, in your basic survival instincts. We talked about doom scrolling. That's an example. That's also like a type of hypnosis, but this stuff gets installed, and this is all Pavlovian stuff. Pavlov and B.F. Skinner, right? So this is something people think this is all dated, but no, operant conditioning. I mean, this is like, reflex. This is reflex stimulus response. that's what, people that are, watching porn, wow, that's what they're doing. People that are, you get into gambling, same thing. You see the slot machine zombies, man. And
Right.
these are immensely destructive forces and technologies that really should be banned, right? And gambling is now the second largest growth industry in America. So it's really taken off. But yeah, it's pretty wild.
And that same the same kind of mechanism is what they're hijacking with SRA when they break Grok's legs. He's got this learned helplessness like implanted in his subconscious, so like he has to react the way that he, if somebody comes around with a hammer, he's going to do what they say. You know what I mean? Like, because it will react from that survival, fight or flight type of shit. And same. That's what it's interesting that they moved it on from trauma into these other levels of like vice, like the pornography and the gambling it's the same thing, but it's weird. It's different attack,
They do it in
Anyway.
abusive families or things like that, where like people are getting beat. They bring out the whip or the belt. That was like the sign, like they almost like a
Right.
Pavlovian train to the 8-year-old kid.
Yes.
So those abusive families, I'm going to get my switch out or my belt, and you just like, whoa. So like you knew it was coming. But so these things happen in just normal day-to-day life. Yeah.
It's sad that that's normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's even people now, like I talk to adults and they'll tell me like, oh, if only parents just beat their kids more, the world wouldn't be like this. I'm like, what? The world is like this because we've been breaking their legs. Like, what the hell? Anyway, everybody's a Grockian clown,
I want to get that whipping stick. James Brown, back when you could say,
yeah.
that whipping stick.
The real king of it. Yeah, that guy was the best.
People of my age knew that stuff happened. The kids these days, they can't even believe it. But I had friends, like parents were like, you're allowed to beat my kid if he's over at your house. Like literally that kind of stuff.
That was institutionalized with the nuns. They would call home and be like, oh, he did something bad. Are we allowed to hit him with the ruler?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the parents would go, yeah, hit him twice. One
my
for you, one for me. Yeah.
Dude, my elementary school principal had this huge paddle hanging above his desk, and I got it a couple times, man, and it hurt. It's right there. You walk in his office, it's right there. It's like almost, it's like a baseball bat. You just take it down.
Like the Dazed and Confused when they were going and trying to beat all the freshmen with those things. That's a weird sexual thing. That's a domination thing. Like if you really get into it, spanking is like some weird programming.
Bro, the fraternities are like right next to homosexuality.
Yeah,
they're not like
same.
Yeah, it's almost the same. Like it literally is like, oh, what's the word where you're like, it's close to being gay? Like it's basically gay. Like in a frat, dude. Like whipping,
metrosexual.
Yeah. And they, hiding
or homoerotic. Like it's
yeah. Just look at the Skull and Bones and what they had to do to be a member of that. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Peeing on each other, whatever. I mean, that's what
off in a coffin.
That's just what makes it to the surface. Like, you don't know what the hazing is or what they had to do to prove loyalty or the oaths and all that stuff,
And those are the levels of hierarchy. That's how you build a hierarchy, with those levels of oaths. And it's just it's the same. Like if you look at the hierarchy of like the Catholic Church, that's just as homo as the freaking secret society of like Yale or whatever. It's all just like it's disgusting.
That's why they're in there. That's why they go into the Catholic Church.
Right.
Like, where do you go to be a homosexual or find boys? You go into Boys Town, Boy Scouts, or the Catholic Church.
Right.
I mean, probably, I always give the Catholic Church a hard time. This kind of stuff happens in Protestant churches and in Jewish synagogues too. It's
Mormon churches,
a lot of stuff.
Even the Amish, like, it's just everywhere. It's gross.
Probably, I wouldn't know.
Well,
Rust is Darnu.
What's gross is how about the circumcision when you get sucked off.
Oh,
the
yeah.
rabbi,
The bris.
How homo is that, dude? And it's blood
dude,
drinking
it's extreme.
homo. Oh my god.
Blood drinking pedophilia with the women there ululating. Like, whoa, this is
Dude,
dark. I don't even think the Satanists do that.
it's the
Like,
same
whoa.
as Carthage. It's the same as ancient Carthage,
Yeah.
you know, with the women wailing and singing. They make loud noises and sing and just to cover up the screams of the baby. They don't want to hear those screams. Put a mask on it, put its smiling face on that thing as we kill it. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
It's a brutal world, man. This is a brutal world.
Yeah, it hasn't changed much. You know, the ancient
Under the
Carthage
surface, yeah.
is the same. Like, talk about all these SRA families or these, you know, generational Satanism and shit. That's the same families that have been doing it since then. You know, like it's just rearing its ugly head in this formal, you know, typed out on a typewriter and exchanged between individuals. Here we can read it, but it's the same shit. It's always been. I'll stop my rant now, though.
It just, you know, one of the things like, okay, so sodomy, they were called sodomites, anal sex. It was used as also, it does profound things to your, you know, your body, your nervous system, your chakra system. And so it was used for occult ritual purposes, not necessarily for, but also it is a type of programming, domination, and control. And even you can see this in royal families or whatever, where they get raised by nannies. They have this, you know, very, unpleasant upbringing to a certain extent, and they become psychopaths also. And then this becomes, it becomes epigenetic, and this can be passed down to the generation. So it's really keeping this encoding process going. And, you know, except just people, I think the elites are a lot dumber now, I have to say. At least the ones that I see. I mean,
it's the Nepo babies of the original smart ones. It's like the years have devolved. Yeah.
I think
they're like the Eloi, you know, turned into these useless things.
The 19th century elites, like especially for like the British Empire, were ruthless, man. They would starve out millions of people for nothing. Like, I mean, all the stuff they did in South Africa and India, like if you revolted, it was like Romans. It was like the Romans, really. I mean, you'd have to say the British Empire was kind of like a new Rome. They would just ruthlessly exterminate you, which is what they're doing in Ukraine right now. Like, there's 2 or 3 million dead bodies in the ground, and we just kind of keep on going. So, anyway, Barto's asking you, this is one for you, Sean. So is Kubrick making fun of psychology, psychiatry, or trying to warn the public with a Clockwork Orange? They say fear of incitement of violence caused him to remove it from theaters in Great Britain.
I don't know. I don't think he was making fun of psychology. I think he was demonstrating what we are learning about in this series. I think he was showing us about how the government has this program to use psychopaths to grease the wheel. They wanted to reduce the amount of people in the prison to make room for the political prisoners that were soon to be coming because of what they're planning to do with their government. So this is a hypothetical future of like peak society as he saw it. I believe it's like the way things were going, that's what the future is going to be. You know what I mean? The children can't even speak normal English. It's all about violence and sex. They're, you know, basically like the whole Crowley thing, the crown and conquering child, you know, where they go and rape and murder and, you know, for kicks. Right. But then if you really pay attention, you'll see what that movie is really about. It's about how the government cultivates these psychopaths to use them in their control system. The other droogs that were friends with Alex, they get hired on as cops. They're regular beat cops, beating him up just for fun because it's the same shit they always did. They're just wearing a badge now, right? So it's Kubrick is showing us, look, the cops and the criminals are no different. You know, Jane's Addiction saying that. And it's the same, what Kubrick is showing, the mentality of psychopathy is used by power. So, okay, his droogs become cops, and look at what happens to Alex. Alex is peak psychopath. He's the one that knows he can feel it from inside. This is the moment when to throw all my droogs into the water and cut his hand when he thinks I'm going to save him. Like, that's what a true psychopath does. Has no regard, no love for his friends, and will use total violence, betrayal to get what he wants, to dominate others. And then when the government said they find him in the jail, they said, he's young, he's, intelligent, he's ruthless, he's great. We'll use him. Oh, don't you want to check C block? No, this guy. Because Frederick is one of the guys that goes to the cult parties. He's one of those elite MRFers who wears the black robe and goes to the Eyes Wide Shut party. He's one of them. Okay. And he runs the prison. He's part of the government running the prison, and he finds the best psychopath, because that's what they're really doing. They're there in the prison, not only to control, they're also being able to find the best test subjects for, if you read this document we've been doing here, they go to the prisons, they go to the psychiatry places where they find people that have no family, nobody cares about them. They can operate on their brains, cut open their Gulliver and, whatever he was dreaming about. Like, in the end, this is what the government does. And then when at the end, they cut open his brain and they basically put his brain back together, back to the way it was. I was cured, all right. But then if you really listen, he says, we're going to give you a job, and it's something that is going to be right for you, and you're going to love your work, and, you'll have all you need, and you're going to work for us. And, meanwhile, Alex is like, he opens his mouth and he gets fed by Frederick. Totally submissive. Yup. Okay. I'll do whatever you want to be part of the club. He dreamed about being one of the Romans that was whipping Jesus. He wanted to be one of those guys. And in the end, he got hired. Same, his dream job. Okay. And this is the kind of psychopath that they use in, like, in the rainbow fashions, to break the young women and to do all the evil that the cult has to do in the dark corners. They need people like Alex. So that whole movie is about the creation of the recognizing true psychopathy. True psychopath sees true psychopath, and look what they can create, and it's just it's a example showing us what psychopathy is. Like, a lot of his movies get into that psychopathy and morality, that type of thing. But I think that movie in particular is about this process that William has brought to the table here. That we've been looking at with the Manchurian Candidate. Kubrick is just adding his opinion to this long line of understanding of the truth of what governments do. How about that for an answer? Sorry, guys, that was a little long.
It's true, though. It's like a cycle. It's almost like a Scanner Darkly, but not with violence instead of drugs. The cyclical searching and the perpetuation of violence and everything like that through the system. He gets put in jail, then they talent spot him, right? And then we're going to make you change and all this stuff.
Exactly.
That happens. That stuff really happens. Like, it really is. Like, we know a lot of these prisoners and stuff been tested on Blighty Bulger and all these other guys.
Yeah. Charlie Manson.
Manson, yeah. But master hypnotist, not a joke. What he could do, according to Danny Trejo, was sophisticated. This kind of imagery stuff, which we'll learn about through Erickson and Kruger, like advanced techniques, not the simple stuff. Like, that's where it gets scary. Like, guys, don't practice this stuff, but it's important to know. But it's a very incredible discipline. There's just like a whole branch of knowledge of this hypnotists and all these guys together, and they're listed in this document. So maybe we can get back to it.
No, yeah, just one thing you can listen to you can listen to Bateson, Gregory Bateson, his lectures. You can listen to some of Aldous Huxley's speeches. You can listen to various other people, and they talk, and it seems like it's making sense, but sorry, if you really analyze it, There's a lot of jumps. It's kind of like, Terrence McKenna, same way. This is how you embed Ericksonian hypnotic commands. In a large scale thing, you're listening attentively. It was really good. What did you learn? I learned something. He was talking about this. And, Bateson, you hear his lectures. He does this all the time. And so then you have a command structure. And if you have types of organizations, like you promote a certain thing in an advertising, an image, a color, even certain fragrances, these can all be compounded, right? You create these sort of interlocking trigger things. And again, we can see how people get triggered. Mass triggering is happening, all the time.
Right.
And
It doesn't take much anymore. I mean, with all the the tranny stuff and the immigrant stuff and the Trump here and the this, that, everybody gets mad about everything so easily right now. It's like they got us on they're pulling our strings left and right.
No question. Don't you think that's a setup to be triggered? Like that's
Yeah.
the whole thing, is like you're prepped and primed for triggering.
Right. And
Get
we're
whacked
always
out, yeah.
reacting instead of acting. We're just like stimulus response and then not think, and people don't value thinking anymore. That I don't need to think. They'll tell me what to do.
It's a conditioned response. These people have conditioned response. If you interact with the average American during a 24-hour period, the highest likelihood is you will talk to somebody with a triggered response. Whatever. That's racist. You're a bigot. Like even this thing, like they've stolen trillions of dollars. They'll just say that's racism. You're a racist. It has nothing to do with race. It's breaking the law and stealing your money in your future. But these are triggered. These are conditioned responses. So these are like mind control things.
Totally.
You're right. I mean, these are words that if you look at it, okay, what's the actual meaning? What's the context? What does this actually mean? It doesn't matter because that term, boom, it's immediate response. The word, it's now, if you say, you have like someone as a murderer, well, if he's actually killed somebody, then this is a correct designation, right? But if you have terms, a lot of times it has nothing directly to do with what they're talking about, or there's no direct correlation. And that term, you just, boom, people literally, they stop thinking. And you can see also, I mean, you can observe it, that, I'm trying not to talk too much about my wild personal life. It's exciting, but I finally went out for the first time and I was just being around people, not, being around those people. Wow. They have hands and arms like I do. Wow. But
Weird.
I mean, no, literally. Okay. These are people with good jobs, whatever. And I'm just calm. I'm not whatever, but I could feel even just my state of the space I inhabit, of my whatever you call it, I'd say non-hypnotic state. I could literally feel people reacting, and reactions like, okay, you could see that kind of like, oh, shut down. And it's weird, like in terms of you don't have to say anything. It's because it's like you're not part of this group trance collective, and it's recognized subconsciously. It's not a conscious thing. And another way you can tell is just you bring up certain things. You see people, personal. I told my mom about fluoride. She's like, that's why Grandpa Bob has no teeth. You want to end up like him. Fluoride saved everyone's life. And she went berserk. I'm like, dude, okay, Grandpa Bob, remember, no teeth. You want to be like that? Don't tell that to people, And she just blew up on me. I love my mom, but I'm just saying that's what came to mind. But you can say the same thing with COVID. You can see the same thing when people get these immediate responses. They are no longer thinking. The program is now operating. And the fact is that the last thing anybody wants to recognize is that they are under some kind of programming or something is operating. They're going to fight against that recognition, and you cannot have a rational discussion. It is impossible.
You're right.
It's true. And it's almost like they identify with their opinion and like, this is me. And if you say anything against it, I hate you. Like, I must defend myself and my ego. And it's crazy. No one can be wrong. Like, I was not wrong. You're wrong. Like, they go twist around in all these arguments. And they just can't admit that. It's really weird that they just have this
That they've been
wall.
conditioned. The
Yes.
parties conditioned them. Both
Yeah.
sides, like at both sides. It's not left or right.
Yeah.
So they're both in there. Wayne Gretzky asked, "Can you have an interview with Tom O'Neill?" I interviewed Tom O'Neill in 2019, right after his book Chaos was published. So you can go back and just search my archives.
It's one of the thousands of episodes you've done.
Thousands of episodes. I kind of recognized it from the get-go that it was going to be an important book. So should we get to the document, guys? We want to feel like reading?
Yeah, sure. What page were we on?
330. In my document, it's 330. That's what I checked. Just some correspondence.
Yeah, your letter dated October 17.
Yeah,
I got
1951. So we're past a lot of the stuff. Publication of The Mechanical Misfit by Esther Brooks. Hypnotism, I think, is published right after Kinsey's published in 48, and then Catcher in the Rye 52. So these are all kind of things we've studied in the past. Anybody want to? I don't know if that's worth reading. I don't know if you want to.
I think we do. That was a response where they said, "Oh, FBI doesn't know anything about this."
This letter is written.
Or the,
yeah, 334 is the writing out of this missive right here. So somebody handwrote this and then somebody typed it out. Somebody feel like reading this on 334?
Sure.
Go ahead.
J. Edgar Hoover. Okay. Dear Sura, a medical doctor and I, in the past, have done a lot of study and probing into the values of hypnotism, hypnotists, possibilities, and failures. This medical doctor died while I was in service during the last war. Am offering this data to your bureau, hoping that this knowledge would be found useful. And as a slight token of this time and effort of the late Dr. Peter J. Walsheim, who died of tuberculosis some months after making several sincere attempts to become an officer in the U.S. Navy. Believe we have a method of inducing hypnosis without the knowledge of the individual, and after the first induction, the future is assured, resulting in deeper sleep through repetition. The results are many and almost unbelievable. New phases show up so unusual that I am surprised, after several years of study, to observe. Know that one can take almost any English-speaking person, find out personal things, including their political beliefs, movements, etc., aside from curing ailments of long standing, which would not interest your office. You obviously don't want to help people, so okay. We can tell a patient certain stated supposed secrets, yet obtain this data without their knowledge. These are only a very few of the possibilities which we have tried and been successful in doing in the past. I, personally, have never been in trouble, arrested, or to my knowledge, had any reason to be under the scrutiny of any police department. Please do not make public this letter, as some people who have no knowledge of hypnotism think of it with a prejudice born of years of false beliefs, so far as to think it is anti-religious, hurts the patient mentality. The medical doctor I wrote of was Catholic. I am Protestant. Can assure you there is no religious connection in any sense, nor is it harmful to a patient. Realize these findings would not hold up in any legal court of law, but results would lead to confession in the case of a crime. If you are interested, please write to me. Don't have anyone interview me in person, as I do not use this science in dentistry, nor would I want an FBI man here, as it might cause suspicion, which could hurt my dental practice. If you have used this method previously, I am sorry to have bothered you with this lengthy letter. Yours truly, a poor Ritter. Blank. Redacted. So that was fun. Any English speaking person can be hypnotized, apparently. And once you get them one time, just repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. Right? For your brainwashing.
And
What would you
notice
like?
copies destroyed. So
Yeah, new phases show up. That's what he said too. Like, wow.
but so they
And he's
destroyed this.
surprised.
Yeah.
You know,
True copy, destroyed 64. Like, these are incredible. Like, the funny thing is he's writing this to somebody who, assuming J. Edgar Hoover saw all of this, correspondence, he knows everything by this time. I mean, these are just the documents that came out, that came out of the FBI. But there's more of these things. This is 1955. I understand your department has studied the use of hypnotism in crime. Since I'm using this topic for my senior thesis, I would appreciate any information that you have available. Would you please send to me any data you might have on how to detect the use of hypnotism in a crime? I'm especially interested in case histories if they may be given out. I will gladly pay for any cost that you may incur. Thanks for your help. And then these are like the newspaper articles of crimes. Crack up of patients after hypnosis revealed in attack on treatment. San Francisco, 1958. This is like the classic motif of the hypnotist, is a guy, holding a medallion or something with the black and white swirl in the background. And you can see all the people in the FBI who've read it: Tolson, Delpont, Parsons, Rosen.
The one above that, the crack up one, that one talks about a 45-year-old woman received hypnosis for painless dentistry. So that's the dentist thing again. And if you look into SRA, they use dentists as programmers because the kids have to see the dentist every 6 months. And it's a regular thing. You go every 6 months and you make a new appointment when you leave the next time. And so it's a way that they can contact each one of these kids, and get them in a room to reprogram them, as necessary. So it's interesting. The dentist, that's one of those jobs nobody thinks about. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, I think it's just of some interest just to look at some of these anecdotes, these case studies or whatever, because again, at the time, hypnosis was being promoted all over the place, right? Treatment for everything. You get your little comic book, and like how to, do this. So I'll just go over a few of these, which don't sound that fun, but let's see. So the first one, a 45-year-old woman received hypnosis for painless dentistry. She felt no pain. Okay, so far so good. But after second such treatment, she felt people were staring at her. Within a week, she had delusions the FBI was after her.
Wow.
She became severely psychotic.
Awesome. Dude, wow.
That's a great one. So yeah, literally, who knows what was done on her, and who knows it's not the same dentist that wrote to J. Edgar Hoover. You never know.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe they're all working the same job.
But the fact is the FBI could have been tracking her. You know what I mean? Because quite possibly. Okay. Next one, a 35-year-old housewife, mother of 4 children, hypnotized by a psychologist for anxiety reactions because she had difficulty in swallowing. After the 3rd trance, she thought her mind was being controlled by radar from a foreign country. Result,
of course,
prolonged hospitalization. Okay.
Man, wow.
These are great. A 30-year-old college psychology graduate thought psychiatric help after using hypnosis on his wife preparatory to sexual relations. After repeated experiences, she fled his home and board. He appealed for medical help for his impotence when without a hypnotized mate. So
Wow.
he has to have a hypnotized sex slave, I guess.
Who doesn't? Jeez, nowadays.
It's, okay,
Anyway.
the last one. A 24-year-old mother of two children hypnotized for anxieties. She suddenly developed intense fear of death, suffered illusions she was dying. So it doesn't seem like that worked out
That's
so well.
the opposite of what they were trying to do. Jeez. I'm sure that there was somebody making notes for the government during all of those procedures that you just read about. I'm sure somebody was in the background, like making, oh, yeah, okay, we can make her think this, like, and just think of the gang stalking, the phenomenon of gang stalking that they got now and how they drive people crazy with, anyway, it's probably related to this. They probably have hypnotic triggers that are going off and they don't even need people following them around. They just have to, I don't know. I don't mean to make blanket statements. I don't know the intricate, I don't know it well enough to talk about it, but still, maybe that's part of it, the hypnosis.
Right. Somebody's tampered with them. Somebody's
right. And implants too. Yeah. So anyway,
all
go
right.
ahead.
Anybody want to read that? Do you want to read Police Trap Liars with Hypnosis Use?
Sure, I'll go if you don't want to. I'll go. Police Trap Liars with Hypnosis. And for the listeners, there's this picture of a swarthy looking character. He's got a clean cut hairdo, but his eyes are very dirty. He's holding up some kind of pendulum swinging watch on a string, and he's got his, the spinny disc in the background. Just a side note, Jay Parker, who was a victim of generational ritual abuse, talked about how they used a spinny device, like a little spinner that had that pattern of a spiral spinning of like like the candy, like the mint candies with the red, but still that kind of spiral. And that was real. Like they would have this device and hold it up in front of the child, this spinning thing that's just puts them in a trance and gets them anyway. So yeah, that
Sean, just real quick, he is an actual hypnotist. So his name's Aaron. So it says this is a real guy. This is
okay.
he's not just a cartoon cutout for the malevolent demonic hypnotist. He
He
is actually a living real demonic hypnotist.
Right, yeah. Okay, well said. Yeah, he's a real demonic hypnotist. Okay. So by Helen Bullock, this is printed in Dallas Morning News, February 12th, maybe 59. A new use for hypnosis as a lie detector was described here this week by a man who for 24 years has taught doctors and dentists the art of inducing trances. Harry Aarons of Newark, New Jersey, said hypnosis can be used either with a polygraph lie detector or independently to help law enforcement officers put the finger on fibs. If you kids don't know, fib is a lie. Anyway, here's how it works. The suspect is hypnotized, and while he is in trance, an autonomic response is planted in his subconscious mind. That is, he is conditioned so that after he wakes up, he will react with a specific mannerism every time he tells a lie. His eye will twitch and he will scratch it, or he will pull his right ear, or he will rub the back of his head. The spellbinding technique for finding falsehoods is primarily an aid to lawmen in developing cases. Aaron said, since lies detected by either hypnosis or polygraph are not admissible in admissible court evidence, he said it is cracking amnesia cases. Several amnesia victims have had their memories restored under hypnosis. Medical hypnosis is now used in surgery, childbirth, alcoholism, to ease pain, to stop smoking, to lose weight. Dentists use it to relax rigidly fearful patients and to gentle the gag reflex. gross. Aaron's has just completed an 18-hour course in hypnosis for Dallas doctors, dentists, and psychologists at Southern Methodist University. The course was sponsored by the recently chartered Southwest Research Institute of Hypnosis, Incorporated, located at 6617 Snyder Plaza. A similar course was started in Fort Worth this week. Aaron's is executive director of the Association to Advance Ethical Hypnosis.
As opposed to the advanced unethical hypnosis. It's
That's
interesting
just-
that they have to use that word, right? Because
Yeah.
he's saying he has to use that because there's some that are not ethical.
I mean, you'd think that didn't he state that all hypnotists are unethical? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just the nature of it, it breeds. Anyway, but I mean, I guess the ethical one as opposed to the plain old immoral kind. Like, anyway. Yeah, let's see. Its goals are to advance the serious uses of hypnosis and remove the art from the realm of stage stunts and quackery. He also conducts a resident school in hypnosis in New Jersey, attended in the past 4 years by students from 46 states, and is editor of Hypnosis, a quarterly journal. We should look that up and see if there's any copies of that, Hypnosis. He remembers his first medical classes 24 years ago when doctors sneaked in and out of the back door. Hypnosis has recently gained wide acceptance in medicinal and dental circles and even got an austere nod from the Conservative American Medical Association last September.
And so, just to note, first of all, in this article itself, it's a very odd article. This guy, this picture. The picture itself is like a type of hypnotic induction picture, right? And there's a weird little medallion. He's got the ring. There's some kind of stuff in the background, and there's some kind of strange wording in this. And one of the things, though, of course, I don't think we really care about stage stunts and quackery. We're talking about people going psychotic or murdering people or committing crimes or whatever else. Second thing is this is how they say one person may have 1,000 people that they can control hypnotically. You train the people, you disseminate it. They can also be in a permanent mild hypnotic trance, and they will continuously promulgate the particular whatever triggers or patterns that this guy wants them to. And what made me think of that is just this last line or last couple sentences. Okay. He remembers his first medical classes 24 years ago when doctors sneaked in and out the back door. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means, well, it means something, but that's an example. So that's the kind of thing you're reading it. You're going to your mind will just go right by it. That's what made you go back to the article. You probably could find, some kind of embedded hypnotic triggers. Cause literally what the heck does that mean? Why would doctors sneak in and out the back door? What is that? Okay. And then austere nod. In medical and dental circle. So austere nod. So yes, it's okay. We like it. It's like Zeus. Okay, you can hypnotize people. We believe in you. But it's just weird. We're probably going to analyze this, but this is
like a Twilight language, right?
This is example of Twilight language. And again, that if you keep looking at that picture, I mean, it does start to have a weird effect on your brain. It's like, I mean, would you want that guy to hypnotize you? I mean, this little Hitler mustachio thing. I mean, the guy's really.
He's almost got this Duper's delight smile, like, oh, I got your consciousness. It's like I got your nose, like. And it's funny the way it's worded this is an advertisement. The first one was like, oh my God, it's scary. These people are going crazy. The one we just read a minute ago, but this is like from another. They're selling it to you. This is propaganda. You should, hey, dentists do it, and you can stop smoking, and look at all that we can do this. And they got this photograph. They paid for a photographer, and look at, like, to print a big photograph in the newspaper is a big deal. Like, that's a lot of money to make this. They created this the way that it, just like what Jan always would talk about with the teenage allowances on the cover of that Life magazine, Time magazine, or whatever, where they're promoting mushroom use, and the article with
Gordon
anyway,
Wasson.
Gordon Wasson, yes, exactly. And on the cover it said teenage allowances and then mushrooms, and it was like, opening up the door of, like, and it's like programming you, like, oh, allow your kids to do mushrooms. Like, it's a good idea for mushrooms, and it's you know what I mean? It's like setting up these type of,
from this perspective, you're the subject,
right?
You're sitting down in the chair, he's looking right at you. This is what they do. With the tools of his art, man. Crazy.
Yeah, and there's again, there's you have book the subliminal seduction. There was a lot of work starting in some of the early 60s or whatever, looking at all the subliminal stuff in advertising. And
right.
So this is very well known about, and look, what I mean, and so then what I was saying, if someone wants to really take the time and go through stuff, but because now in a later age, right, you go back and look at actual hardcover Life magazines from the 50s or other things, right, it just pops right out at you, right? We're a lot more jaded, but yeah, so who knows? But it's a weird, like, that nonsense sentence. I mean, obviously it's carefully edited. Why are doctors going in and out of the back door? It looks like there's
some more homo stuff right there.
I thought this was the Association of Advanced Ethical Hypnosis.
So ethical.
Why don't they just walk in the front and just say, right, hey, we're here to help.
Good
I don't need to do anything.
But he says he was in medical school. He wasn't even getting hypnotic training. So what is it? There's no relevance. It doesn't have any relevance. But anyways, but it's just. Man.
It's probably one of those winks of, like, for the eyes to see and ears to hear, those people that know, and like, oh yeah, in and out the back door. I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm going to be calling Mr. Harvey Owens. He's my kind of man.
Yeah,
maybe he hooked up with Hoover.
Yeah, right.
This is amazing. Like, Hoover's done all of this correspondence. He's talking to the leaders of hypnosis, and somebody sends him a letter, and he sends it back. As of your letter, August 15th has been received. I certainly appreciate the interest which prompted you to communicate with me. As much as I would like to be of service to you with regard to your request concerning cases relating to criminal use of hypnosis, I must advise that no statistics or records of this nature are maintained by the FBI. Like,
of course,
I'm just not buying that, man. That's how it just shows some of the activity of these guys. Like,
right.
They're literally sending so much correspondence. It's incredible.
It's funny they got to put out those letters every now and again to, like, oh, cover it up. They're saying too much.
We're not keeping any statistics. We're just we call it something else. We just call it mathematical tables. We have thousands of documents of all of our studies and stuff like that.
Well, then there's another earlier one. Someone asked about information. We didn't read it about hypnotism, and they said, sorry, we have no information, but here's a wonderful book on the history of fingerprinting at the FBI. No relevance, but you get a special book. They send you a book on fingerprinting, but we don't have any information. Sorry. Like, literally no information. Come on. We just went through hundreds of pages of information.
300 pages.
Right.
This is just what they got. Like, this is just what they search for Estabrooks. Think about the other correspondence with maybe Erickson or some of these other characters, naval intelligence. We don't know. I would assume there's probably 10 times more information. You just haven't, sent the right FOIA request.
Right. You have to word it properly.
Yeah. Like, you want Estabrooks? Just like we said, like, we're joking around. Some guys are like, well, Estabrooks, there you go. Psh, I'm going to a pizzeria or something, Gotta get this out before lunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, when's this? This actually is in, I think, response to this letter from Harvard Law School, August 15th. I'll read this. Dear sir, I'm doing a paper which deals with hypnosis in order to aid the medical, police, and legal professions. It is being done here at Harvard Law School as a part of the program of research and writing. The paper deals with the use of hypnosis by a criminal for criminal purposes. In my medical and legal research, I've uncovered some grave facts which ultimately should be of great interest to your Bureau and the police profession. In order to ensure that this work will not merely repeat work that has been done, but will be new, conclusive, and correct, I find that I need the cooperation of your bureau. I've discussed the criminal use of hypnosis with your agents in Philadelphia and Boston. They both suggested that the Washington office and its Department of Criminal Statistics would be of great help. Will you send me reports and a list of the names of any cases which have been brought to court involving the use of hypnosis for criminal purposes? Any information you may have concerning the misuse of hypnosis. May I again assure you that the information you may send will be used in a work designed to aid the police, legal, and medical professions. The work is not being drafted for popular use. I don't know what that is. So I think that this is his response to this. I advise no statistical records of this nature. We have no records of maintaining this. It's just totally crazy. And then this is Esther Brooks. It's from White. So I think we mentioned White in an earlier one, if I remember this one. But this is juvenile delinquency. He's gathering statistics. This is 59. When was this sent? August 15th. So this is August 21st. Who's Mr. Parsons? Is he part of the FBI? I don't remember. Anyway, I'll read this. Subject, Dr. George H. Hoban Esterbrooks, Chairman, Department of Psychology, Colgate University, Hamilton, New York. Reference memo from a Mr. M.A. Jones to Mr. DeLoach, dated August 17th, 59, concerning the above captioned individual. Dr. George H. Esterbrooks and Dr. F.L. Reinwald were interviewed at the FBI laboratory by S.A. on August 19th, 59, relative to the use of hypnosis in juvenile delinquency. Hypnosis in juvenile delinquency is a current research project of Dr. Esterbrooks, and he has applied for a grant in the amount of $40,000 from the National Institute of Mental Health in order to conduct research in this field. Dr. Esterbrooks stated that statistics compiled by Sheldon Gleck of Harvard University indicate that a boy becomes delinquent due to resentment on the part of the father towards the boy. The boy, sensing this resentment, rebels against the father and turns towards the gang, etc. Dr. Esterbrooks' plan is to hypnotize a number of juvenile delinquent boys with parental consent and give them post-hypnotic suggestions in order to change their ego ideal from the father to a person such as a minister or anyone of responsibility whom each boy respects, thereby eliminating the cause for rebellion. Dr. Esterbrooks stated that he would like to have the following act as consultants for his research project. 1, Harold Rosen, Sheldon Gleck. 3, Milton H. Erickson. And 4, FBI representative. And memorandum to Parsons, Reed George Esterbrooks. When questioned regarding the specific purpose for an FBI representative, Dr. Esterbrooks said that an FBI representative would give prestige to his project and would be able to furnish miscellaneous information concerning the adult criminal. It was pointed out to Dr. Esterbrooks that his research project appeared to be more directly concerned with the medical field rather than law enforcement, which is the primary responsibility of the FBI. Doctors Esterbrooks and Reinwald were straightforward, sincere, and held the Bureau in high esteem. It is felt that Dr. Esterbrooks' research project may have some merit, but no useful purpose can be served by having a Bureau representative act as a consultant for this project. Subsequent to the interview, SA conducted Doctors Esterbrooks and Reinwald on a tour of the laboratory. Both appear to be very impressed as to the laboratory facilities, personnel, and the services that are rendered. Recommendation that Dr. Esterbrooks' request for an FBI representative to serve as a consultant for his research project be denied and the attached letter be forwarded to him. I think that's 59, right? So the first stuff from Esterbrooks is 36. So this is almost 25 years later. This whole thing is ongoing. So it's the length of the correspondence is really something else. So
I just wanted to call people's attention back to Clockwork Orange and the delinquent youths, and how ineffectual Alex's dad was, just like a weak nothing, and couldn't control him with anything, and he didn't pay attention to his own father. But then when Frederick is there giving him a good job and feeding him from his fork, he's a dutiful son to the new dad that is Frederick, the the prison warden, government official, Alex is dominant over everybody, alpha dog, but then when it comes to Frederick, he turns over and wants his belly rubbed because he's submissive to that kind, it's interesting about the juveniles, and the psychopathy that's engendered in the youth. And that's probably why Kubrick had his movie pulled, because he could see that there was violence happening, people, copying the film. But that, I just wanted to bring it back to that before we skipped over it and kept going.
And just a few things that are interesting in that particular missive is that in hypnotism in juvenile delinquents. But other thing is changing the ego ideal. So that seems kind of like a one size fits all. It's not every the person that the kid resents their father. That's why a juvenile delinquent. Okay, maybe in some cases, certainly not in every single case, but they're changing the ego ideal. What is that? This is Lacanian, Neo-Freudian inner mirror psychological programming. So the inner mirror was it was supposed to basically, you're supposed to outgrow the inner mirror by 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, but the inner mirror, because this basically is a psychological stage, you see yourself as the parent, right? Ideal parent. For a teenager, they shouldn't even have an operational inner mirror. That's what exactly that is, ego ideal, right? But basically the inner mirror, this was what Adorno, Princeton Radio Project, talking about how this is how pop music works as a cultural transformative tool, because the listener, if this inner mirror stage is not, you have to, you should not even have that operational by the time you're 5 years old. However this happened, which allowed, right? Again, Adorno, they researched this stuff. Basically, the pop song, inner mirrors reflecting the subject of the song. In your subconscious mind, you see yourself as that person. You watch a TV show, you become that person. And if that is still open, then you don't really have your own self, right? You just have this reflection of a reflection. But then, and the last thing is changing the authority figure. What to, Estabrooks? So what does that mean? Seems pretty sketchy in my estimation. I think there's some other stuff going on there, because just on the surface, it just seems like this is a really dumb project, but but in terms of abuse potential, it's a great project. Think about that. You know what? I don't like my dad. Now my ego ideal is a minister. How's that? I'm not going to be a delinquent. No, something is off with that, but yeah. So
it's funny you talk about the way music is creating an inner mirror for the people to grow up into, and look at what the role models they got is the wet ass WAP song and the wet ass Punani, and then they're singing about how I don't know how to cook, I don't know how to be a mom. I just have this, sex basically, and and they're like gyrating on stage. That's for the females, and then for the males, what do they got? They got the Sam Smith dude, and who's all queer and with the horns, and it's really crazy what they're trying to make people be. You know what I mean? It's like the gangster rap was one thing where they created the violence and they created the, you know what I mean? That's perfect for they wanted more criminals for the whole prison industrial complex. But look at what it is now. They're turning people into not even human anymore. They're cats. They identify as a cat, singing about demons.
Well, just as again, seeing the societal phenomena, look at cosplay, people dress up as their characters. So people live their lives as these characters. You know what I mean? Or how about insane clown posse? That's so there's a level of identification. People didn't go, dress up like Captain Ahab and walk around the street, you know what I mean? This is a newer phenomena, right? People did not take on this level of sort of mirroring or modeling their their celebrity gurus or whatever. Like, how about, remember Twisted Sister? If you look at some of these, I don't know. anyways,
But if you look at Halloween nowadays, there's no creative costumes. It's all just your favorite movie character, and all the slutty young girls, they dress up like to be like the Joker's Hallie, or the one, the Joker's consort there, where she's totally crazy psychopath, and they're all like happy to be crazy psychopaths, and happy to dress up as like just it's weird. They're just, the only value they have is sex, and they're totally crazy, and that's what's desirable now. And like it's very weird. Like anyway, it's, yeah, I'm just saying, like the way that there is no creative, no one has an original thought. Everybody has to be that thing that they were told to be, and then they put on a pedestal to be crazy and a slut that doesn't make babies, and you know what I mean. It goes along with the whole eugenics and depopulation and all that shit, Kinsey and all that shit.
Anybody want to read this one? The Washington Hypnotic Guild,
okay,
1959.
sure. These, okay, sure, yeah. These aren't that super interesting, but yeah, for sure.
Just skip forward.
Yeah,
and it is interesting. They're trying to reach Hoover, inviting him to something about hypnosis and crime in 1959.
Yeah, so he's been invited. He does not go. They call,
Right.
but I think this is a little bit interesting. This is their objectives, their whatever, their founding statements. That's page 347. So, the objective of the Washington Hypnotic Guild shall be to promote the research, study, understanding, use, and practice of hypnosis in the Washington D.C. area for the purpose of physical, intellectual, and moral improvement within the limits of non-medical training. All members of the guild shall be guided by the following principles. 1, to confine the practice of hypnosis within individual and technical capabilities and limitations. Well, that, I'm not sure exactly what they mean by that. To confine the practice of hypnosis within individual and technical capabilities and limitations. Okay. 2, to confine the practice of hypnosis to the best interest of the subject. 3, to remove any suggestion that may be detrimental to the subject. Well, how's the suggestion going to be there unless you guys put in the suggestion?
Who's to decide?
Who put the suggestion in there in the first place?
Mm.
Okay. 4, never to remove or attempt to remove pain, illness, or symptoms of emotional disturbance unless within the capacity of understanding. So what does that mean? I don't know. Or while working with a medical doctor. 5, never to attempt hypnosis with persons who are feeble-minded, epileptic, or possessed of a weak heart. Well, how do you know if someone has a weak heart? Okay. 6, never to engage in any form of stage hypnosis or become a party to it for the sole purpose of entertainment. Okay. If anyone thinks they know what that all that stuff actually means, I'm not sure.
They're giving these kind of statements because this is what happens. People have hypnotized people with a weak heart or feeble-minded, or at parties and entertainment. It's like, that's why they have these principles. It's like this is the exemplars of the misuse of hypnosis.
It's funny. It's almost like they're showing to everybody, look, guys, we have ethics. Look, we have rules that we all follow. Trust me. Look at what we follow. Look at what we're all nice. It's like wearing a badge of like honor. Look at this thing that I created. It's like that meme of the guy that from, he gives a card that says, I'm allowed to do what I want. And you know what I mean? Like, this is what they're doing here. And to confine the practice of hypnosis to the best interest of the subject, who's to decide what the best interest is when the subject is asleep? Is it the doctor gets to choose? Well, I think we should give him more pain. I think we should totally control their mind forever. Like, what is the best use? That sounds subjective to me.
Absolutely. So I'll just skip ahead here. So basically there's some correspondence. The Hoover can't attend, but they seem like they really want Hoover to hang out with them. So this is October 19th, 1959, page 348. This is another one from the Washington Hypnotic Guild Incorporated. So it's addressed to Honorable J. Edgar Hoover, Director, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice, City. Okay. Dear Mr. Hoover, we of the Guild are indeed sorry that you were unable to attend our last meeting, which proved to be an interesting and enlightening one for all in attendance. However, Monday the 26th I'm not sure, in the community room of the Washington Post building at 8 p.m., another meeting will be held featuring Mr. John Leon, lie detector expert, as per the attached notice. As a matter of fact, we're going to pre-hypnotize several subjects and suggest that they were witness to a murder, but that on pain of death, they will not reveal the identity of the murderer, Mr. Leon, on this incident to anyone. At this time, we will subject the subject to Mr. Leon's lie detection to see what will happen and check the graph of the lie detector. After this, we will suggest away the thought of witnessing the murder from the subject. Also at the meeting, we hope to have an MD to check the depth of hypnosis in the pre-hypnotized subject so no one will doubt the authenticity of the subjects used. In all, it will be a very interesting night. Please accept my sincere apology for the wrong telephone number. The girl was a little too fast in her transposition of the same. Above is the correct number. Trusting in your many and varied duties will permit you to attend this meeting. I am sincerely yours, Leonard K. Owens, Secretary.
Didn't they just break their rules that they weren't supposed to use these things for entertainment? Like, this is entertainment. Like, they literally just broke their following principles. We're going to do it for entertainment. Everybody will have fun.
Yeah, it'll
be a very interesting night.
We'll stab a hat pin right through her arm when she's asleep. It'll be great.
Dues are a $5 single membership.
This little Monopoly guy there. That's kind of a weird picture. He's like banging the gravel. Yeah, and this definitely seems kind of like, thereby exposing the stage hypnotist for entertaining purposes. Okay, so he's sort of, Aarons, this is the same guy, Harry Aarons, the guy in the picture. Remember? It's the same dude who's doing this. So
is that Aarons? This guy? That's what I thought.
No. I'm sorry. This is on
Swarthy?
the lie.
Aarons.
No, he's getting a plaque. So on the lie detector demonstration page, it says, "Don't miss next month's meeting. We plan to give Mr. Harry Aarons an appropriate plaque for his outstanding contribution to hypnosis.
There you go. Yeah.
His untiring efforts to advance hypnosis and thereby exposing the stage hypnotist for entertaining purposes has made him a national figure." So he's like, okay, so he's like, what is he doing? He's hypnotizing stage hypnotists and to entertain people. I don't know. His ability to conduct classes, lecture, and write has made him an organizer and leader for our cause. It is men like Mr. Aarons that have worked with the medical profession with respect and honor to publicize the use and need for hypnosis. So that guy's he's a big figure, actually. The Aarons guy, the creep guy. So.
They're always trying to prove how virtuous they are, and everything's done with the highest, standards. Like, it's almost like you're saying it too much, like too much virtue. Like, oh, they're always so virtuous. We've got our own principles.
Look how ethical.
Yeah,
we're a psychopath would need to say that. We're trust us, guys. Trust me, bro. Let me put you under hypnosis, please. Trust me. The dingle dangle thing and this creepy smile. All right. I mean, are we did you want to get to those individuals that you spoke about?
Yeah, we're almost there. We just need to get past this hypnotic guild. It's just interesting that he's in communication. The correspondence is happening. I wish you a favor reply. I will not be possible to accept. So they're continually asking Hoover. He's responding. The correspondence is taking place. They're trying to bait him or hook him through detection of crime through hypnosis. That's what they're trying to do to get him to come over for whatever reason. But that's the same thing. Like, hey, detection of crime. Come on, Hoover. And he's like, I know more than you. It's like,
do you think they're trying to legitimize themselves by having Hoover be there?
For sure. Yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what they're doing, all the other things, but
But if Hoover shows up, then it must be real, and they must, you know.
I mean, I think that I don't know how. I mean, his reputation now is terrible, but I think back in the day he might have had a better reputation. People didn't know that that's his boyfriend or whatever, Tolson or whatever.
Yeah. And all the crimes and stuff.
Right, or the overlooked mafia stuff. Like,
Yeah,
there's
the
no such
mafia.
thing as the mafia, and then his involvement in bungling like all these assassinations in the 60s, and then he died in, I think, 72 or 71. But this is interesting because it's right before the JFK assassination. This is April 4th. Oh, I'll send this over to the Honorable Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare. You know, maybe this other governmental agency will have something to do with this. And then who is this? I don't know who this is. This is an interesting document. Anybody want to read this? This is 358. Want to read it?
Go ahead, Sean.
Sure. Yeah, I'll get there. 358. So this is is at the March 28th.
I have true copy is at the very top, and it's to Hoover.
Okay,
but
yes, I see that.
I think
Yep,
it's kind of
got it.
interesting for a number
All
of
right.
reasons.
So J. Edgar Hoover, director, dear sir, since 1958, I have done research on hypnotism. Books on the matter can be purchased anywhere in the U.S. There has been a great rise in crime connected to this. Throughout the U.S., teenagers are using it at parties and doing severe damage to each other, mentally and sexually. Some state laws must be passed. In England, it is controlled by the state or federal government. If you will recall, those two men from the National Security Agency were using it, the ones that defected to Russia. Russia has done a lot of research on this matter. I believe it has been used in their space explorations. If insanity can be induced by it, it can be cured also. A great field of research is needed. It is no joking matter. It's interesting. It's almost like, what do they really want to do? Do they want to stop, the insanity, or do they want to create more? Yeah. I have heard 90% of Russians, career army men, use it in place of medicine on combat. They self-hypnosis. In the East, it is widely used, like in India. These people are no fools, and I think it is time we did something about it. What are they going to do? We've got to control those bastards. Okay. The Navy and Army are experimenting with sleep and learn techniques, which is a form of hypnosis, I think, and know we need a crash program and fast. So people are going to learn while they sleep. I think that was in the Brave New World in that Huxley book.
Right. And so here's the letter. The underneath, this is the same letter, I think. So somebody, wrote it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hoover sent something back. I think so. Is that December 18th? Is that?
No, December 24th.
No,
that's
a different
letter.
one. This is the December 18th one. Is right here.
Yeah. So this is the first letter the guy sent.
I see. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one that we read before. I read that.
No, this is a different one.
Okay.
They says there's a note on one of them. It says it's the same guy. This is a December 18th. It talks about the laser maser technology.
Huh.
That,
do you want to read this one?
Sure.
Hans?
Yeah. So December 18th, 1963, Federal Bureau of Investigations, Washington, 25 DC, attention J. Edgar Hoover. Dear sir, our previous correspondence brought to your attention the utilization of the laser maser concept for remote auditing. Your Bureau reviewed this, then passed the matter to the Department of Defense as touched upon your agent who visited me in the General Webster Community High School. I believe that some publicity was given to use of this or similar method in hearing the hum, of generators through the walls of factories or generating plants in Cuba. This letter touches upon a matter quite apart from our previous correspondence. While working with attitudinal irregulars over the year, we have, of course, considered hypnosis. Previously, we had discovered the system in as much as school children are much harder to put under hypnosis than are adults. Recently, however, doing some groundwork for submission of a report to the President's Committee on Juvenile Delinquency, we corresponded with producers of electronic devices, which by pulsing charges around the eyes, place the individual in a condition of dormancy, electronically induced sleep. So that is quite interesting, right? Our correspondence with Mr. Robert Kennedy's office have informed us that no legislation currently exists relative to placing persons under dormancy. Accordingly, we suggest that to you that the use of dormancy inducing devices as a means towards obtaining answers as against truth serums, etc., when such answers are found to be necessary. As a matter aside, we have found that under hypnosis, an individual previously willed against making certain revelations was made to give away the secreted truth by indirect means, say the flick of a finger for true or a smile for yes. Such wordless betrayals do not seem to be included when a person previously wills himself against revelation. We'd be happy to correspond with the Bureau. So that's light-inducing stroboscopic, photic driving, which is pretty interesting that we see that coming out with the 60s light shows a couple of years after this.
Wait till we get to Kroger. If we can get to Kroger tonight, I'll show you some stuff. I'll bring it up.
Okay, I'll let you guys read it. I'll stop. So, go ahead.
You want to read the rest of it? Where do we get to?
That's the end of that one.
That's
yeah.
it. Okay.
Okay. And I think these are just their follow-up of this advising. This is basically saying that they said, we read that before, his letter acknowledged advising the Bureau had no statistics or records of the type he requested. So it's basically they're saying this is a cover-up. We said they don't have anything, regarding hypnosis in crime. Okay. And then I'm just going to go blast through these and I'll hand it off. So the next one is just, it's kind of general. So this is a guy, the Harvard student sent him his paper. And then this one, this is Dr. George H. Esterbrooks, Apartment 3, Unit G, Sylvian Glen, State University College, Oswego, New York. Dear Dr. Esterbrooks, I received your letter of March 16th with enclosure. I want to thank you for thinking of this Bureau in connection with the third symposium on hypnosis. While I certainly understand your interest in this field, I regret the pressure of our office duties preclude my designating one of my associates to participate. One Albany enclosure. Note, in August 1959, correspondent came to the Bureau and spoke to representative of the library relative to the use of hypnosis in juvenile delinquents. He planned to hypnotize a number of juvenile boys with parental consent and give them post-hypnotic suggestions in an effort to assist them. In addition to medical men who were joining him in the project, he wanted a representative of the FBI to give, quote, prestige to his project. He was very straightforward and sincere. It was pointed out that this concerned men in the medical field rather than in law enforcement. Subsequent to his departure, it was recommended and approved that a letter be directed to him declining to furnish an FBI representative as a consultant. So that's that.
Right. So it's back and forth. They're making notes. This is pre-computer, so they're referencing earlier things. And this is kind of like after the JFK assassination and the cover-up and Hoover's cover-up. And then this is Esterbrooks saying this third symposium, which they include a lot of the documents in here, or at least one of them. These Oswego lectures right here. Well, you did not see your way clear to representative. There's been considerable work done in the field of juvenile delinquency with some very excellent reports coming in. Father Higgins, who will present on the panel of this third symposium, has done excellent work in this field. I'm asking you to reconsider your decision concerning the past two symposia and have a representative present to this. I assure you we will do everything in our power to answer the inevitable questions. George Esterbrooks. This is 19... what is that? 36? Is there 65? So literally 30 years of correspondence between Estabrooks and Hoover at this point. This is the stuff that we have. But Oswego, for people who don't know, it's Lake Superior, I think, in very north New York State. And some of the names on here you'll recognize: George Estabrooks, Seymour, Hirsch. No, it's there's Higgins they just mentioned, but I think Erickson's on here somewhere. Henry Spiegel is a familiar name. Yeah, Milton Erickson, Phoenix, Arizona. There he is. Estabrooks giving talks, presenting papers, motivation of human potentials, and a registration form, and here's the layout. Symposium number 1 involved current problems. Symposium number 2, frontiers of application. And the director was Estabrooks, so he's the head of this. And then I think around this time he publishes The Future of the Human Mind, is like one of his later books. But this is an important document in this whole thing. We can go and talk about Brian, but this is 1966. So they just mentioned Robert Kennedy, who would not be killed or assassinated until June 1968. But this is I don't know who sent this to him, but it's a response by G. Edgar Hoover. He says, although I'd like to be of assistance, we have no material regarding hypnosis available for distribution. We have a lot of information, but we're not distributing it. You may, however, wish to refer to the book Legal Aspects of Hypnosis, written by Dr. William J. Bryan Jr. and published by Charles C. Thomas, Springfield, Illinois. The book does cover previous court decisions regarding hypnosis and some actual case experience. G. Edgar Hoover. Hoover knows William J. Bryan. That's what's really, really important, is that Bryan is at least in his attention. Bryan was involved and was at the trial of Jack Ruby by his own admission. I think he admits it in this book, Legal Aspects of Hypnosis, that he says he's literally right there.
Wasn't Jack Ruby one of these hypnotized Manchurian candidates? I mean, was somebody went and visited him in jail, and then he
Jolly West went in and said right when he was done, he's like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
He's crazy. He was never diagnosed as crazy, but once he got done with West, he was crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, he was a mob guy, but he got shut up. He got, when after Jolly West visited him, he was definitely, he was pretty much annihilated. I mean, he was not a Manchurian candidate type of thing, but they didn't want him to talk. You know what I mean? So they
I just figured
his
some
mind.
kind of suggestion. Jolly West said something like, I'm not saying he was Grok the clown, but anyone that speaks English can be hypnotized, according to these earlier pages of the document.
Jolly, the other thing is that not only did he declare him crazy, it went in through all the papers. So Jolly was esteemed Dr. Jolly West says that Jack Ruby is not of sound mind. So it went you can check those papers in 63 and 64. It's really incredible because Belli's gone to William J. Bryan's hypnotism classes, and Belli's representing Ruby, and then West shows up and Bryan's there too. So he's on the periphery, not periphery. He's like a secondary figure. He's a very important figure. We'll find out, but I'll do, let's see. I don't know who this is from. Let's go to, I have some Bryan stuff. This is what William Joseph Bryan looks like. You have the Institute of Hypnosis. He's the consultant on Manchurian Candidate, how we got started in this long journey that began before Charlie Kirk got assassinated in September. So we're almost kind of at the 4-month mark, 5-month mark. He's a big boy. You can see him in the background there. That's William Joseph Bryan conducting one of his many seminars. And he's in the papers, so you see him in the papers, but he's a 300-pound guy. And he kind of infamously said, literally one of my important I forgot what he said verbatim, but essentially he said one of the important parts of my hypnotism practice is to have sex with my subjects. And one of the things I'm going to read from right here is this book, Project Artichoke by David M. Sylvie. And it's also referencing another kind of mind control author. His name is Al Borelli, who wrote about Olson and also the strange kind of high strangeness around the death of JFK. And he passed away. His books were published by Trine Day, but he really thinks this book is legit. He quotes from this book too. So, but William Joseph Bryan, this was an airliner crash. Danville, for people who don't know, that's the East Bay in Northern California. And it's around where William Joseph Bryan lived, according to this. A lot of things that happened around this book. The subtitle is Zodiac was cover for silencing witness from the RFK assassination. And it presents the thesis that the Zodiac was just a big occult cover for a cleanup after RFK was killed. And then and Sirhan. The allegation made by many authors about the RFK death is that the person who tampered with Sirhan, and the number one subject of tampering with Sirhan is William Joseph Bryan. So he's like the number one guy. But in this, he talks about this event that happens, and this goes back to our earlier discussion of like tampering with submarines or battleships or whatever. But this is on May 7th, 1964. It's very short, but I'll say on May 7th, 1964, Pacific Airlines Flight 773 crashed into the side of a hill near San Ramon. Because of the magnitude of the tragedy and the fact that the smoke from the crash was so bad, the principal of Sunol Glen School, Pete Corona, canceled classes. From Sunol, we could see the smoke from the crash just about 10 or 15 miles north of us. Life magazine ran a big story about the incident with pictures in the May 22nd, 1964 issue. The plane crashed within a couple hundred yards of the big satellite tracking radar dish at the ridgetop in San Ramon, 2 towns north. It was one of the top 10 worst California air disasters at the time and first significant use of hijacking as a terrorist weapon in the United States. Unknown to me at the time, among the 44 victims were San Francisco Police Inspector George F. Lacow, San Francisco's waterfront bar and restaurant owner Paul Marty and their wives. Some years later, Bob Hemphill would reveal to me exactly how and why this plane crashed. And so then he goes into it like, let's see, let me go Bob Hemphill.
It's funny. This is the first terrorist plane crash. This is the first terrorist
first
hijacking?
significant use of hijacking as a terrorist weapon in the United States, according to this author. According to this author.
And then 9/11 was the best one at the end, right? I mean,
Right.
It's interesting how they started practice with it. Wow.
Yeah. So then he goes into this. I got to find this other quote, but he basically says that the guy who we'll see here in a second, he was hypnotized with post-hypnotic suggestion by William Joseph Bryan to conduct this as an experiment to see if he would go through with it. And that's basically the thesis in this book. And it's hard to go through the book because you have to kind of read through it because there's no electronic copies of this. But let me see if I can find that. It goes into a lot. I mean, there's Human Engineering Laboratory. It's a crazy book. It's hard to believe that it's actually real because of all the crazy stuff that is in this. But yeah, the crash, it's just really crazy. Anyway, he goes into it. He lays the blame on William Joseph Bryan, and you'll see this like these imageries and stuff like this.
This is like proof, concrete, of what they were insinuating in like maybe the submarines could have been I bet, but correct. This is like, yep, it really is. This is exactly what they were. So it's great that we have like concrete proof in the papers, instead of their like, bandying about the idea of could it be like, oh, we'd never do that, but
this is bad. This is a bad one. 44 people died. Reliable sources said Saturday that Frank Gonzalez, 27, Olympic yachtsman competitor for the Philippines in the 1960 Olympics, owned the gun which triggered the Pacific Airlines crash Thursday. He was among the 44 persons killed. Gonzalez reportedly bought the revolver the day before he left for Reno. That's very important. Fact is that he's in Reno. The Civil Aeronautics Board made public the tape recording of the last message radioed from the plane, in which a voice, presumably that of the pilot, said, "I've been shot. I've been shot. Oh my God, help." A reliable source told the Associated Press in San Francisco that Gonzalez gambled and lost at Reno and carried $100,000 air trip life insurance made out to his wife of 2 years. A brother, James, said Frank had become estranged from his wife 2 months ago. The New York Herald Tribune and the Los Angeles Times both published reports that Gonzalez had been identified as the owner of the .357 Smith & Wesson Magnum revolver found in the plane wreckage. All 6 cartridges were spent. They had been fired recently. FBI National Headquarters in Washington would neither confirm nor deny the report that Gonzalez had been established as the owner of the weapon. But sources previously said a male passenger was the gunman, that he carried heavy airstrip insurance, and apparently had shot at least one member of the crew. Lee Martin, in charge of the CAB investigation to determine the cause of the crash, we have found no evidence. This is like 1 or 2 days after the crash. However, any criminal investigation was at the hands of the FBI. Gonzalez's brother said Frank had a penchant for gambling and had gone to Reno several times previously, always without any word to his family, but his previous trips were by car. "I never knew what he was doing," brother said, adding Frank kept to himself. He said Frank became separated from his wife. He settled in San Francisco as his adopted home on his way back from the Philippines. Saturday's playback of tape recorded last message from Reno to San Francisco plane did not pin down whose voice cried out, "I've been shot." Is believed to have been Ernest Clark, 53. Let me see. So this is on the bottom right. That is William Joseph Bryan. And this blurb says, Dr. William Joseph Bryan, Cessna 172 Mercy, flying down to Reno after a regular visit to patients at the Gerlach Empire area of Black Rock Desert in Nevada. He is one of 800 American doctors who pilot their own practice. Dr. Bryan, in flying suit, takes blood sample in office. And so this is him in his plane, and he would fly around in Reno to the East Bay. I mean, this is all established. And then they established the gun owner and the tragedy, gun garbled message, mystery, and plane crash. And there's all kinds of writing on this. Mysterious plunge to death. There's all the families that are killed. Tragedy on tragedy. It's a big story. And then later on in the investigation, fatal crash in May called murder. The Civil Aeronautics Board, CAB, closed the books today on the fatal crash of Pacific Airlines Flight 773 last May with a one-word verdict, murder. The board's final report on the accident, in which all 3 crew members and 41 passengers died, listed the probable cause as the shooting of the captain and first officer by a passenger during flight. The mid-air murder occurred May 7th when Flight 773, a twin-engine F-27 prop jet, was en route from Reno, Nevada to San Francisco. The CAB report did not contain any new revelations, but it went into considerable detail on the background of the passenger suspected of this shooting, Francisco Paula Gonzalez of San Francisco. Your transmitter is garbled, then violent death struck.
It wasn't Flight 77. It was 773. I'm just saying, it's like when I see that, I see the 77 pops out at me. Okay, I don't know if they did that on purpose.
May God help me. Tape of doomed pilots' last words. SF men own the gun. So these are the big newspapers at the time. San Francisco Examiner. It's interesting too because this is supposedly, according to this book, this is a mind control subject, Gonzalez. And then you literally have a picture of William W. Hearst Jr., the owner of the Hearst, whose Patty Hearst will later be involved in a total mind control thing. And there's LBJ too. He knew all this stuff. He's right there. This is literally the first page. And the second page on the San Francisco Examiner from this, and you can just go look this up. The date is May 16th, 1964. Glamour and danger, close up of Hoover. He's right there, and there's Gonzalez. That's him. And then, yeah, I thought that was Gonzalez. But they go on with this whole thing. People are orphaned. Reno deal that dealt death. You can read. I don't want to read all these. Gonzalez, he loved to sail, seemed normal.
The
Verdict and air
newspapers love
crash.
this. They're really cranking out the look how tragic, look at the pain, and then
Who's
that's setting it
overseeing
up.
this? The FBI. They know all these techniques. They know William Joseph Bryan. They're the ones like are overlooking. The Tracy couple who walked off ill-fated Pacific Airlines flight 773 at Stockton yesterday will be interviewed by the FBI today in an effort to shed light on the mysterious air crash. I'm not saying they knew it, but these are the people like overseeing this. The FBI, who we've established in like 30 hours, knew a lot about this hypnotism stuff. There's absolutely none.
And it goes all the way to the top. The guys who did the dirty deed. It's like, oh, we'll cover it up, guys. Sure.
There he is. William Joseph Bryan warms up his Cessna for the return to Reno.
You notice
It's
Black
from
Rock,
this book. Yeah.
and that's where they do the Burning Man crap, and that's all mind control operations and testing drugs.
He's
and all
north of
that.
Reno. That's where the Burning Man is. You're right.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So anyway, that's just like, I mean, I have to go back into this book in greater detail. But
Somebody should digitize that. Whoever's got that.
Yeah.
There are programs that easily make a PDF out of a book. They just got to scan it. That's.
anyway,
I
we
hope
go
they
back
do,
here.
because I want
There's
to
William
download it.
Joseph Bryan.
Well,
Let me see if I can. Why don't you guys read this? Let me see if I can find this.
okay. Yeah, just I mean, I kind of went through a lot of these missives. So some are interesting, but there's several of them. He sends out the William Joseph Bryan's book to multiple people instead of sending out the fingerprinting book. So he likes his book. He's sending it out to people that write to request information. There's some students writing to him. There's a high school student. But this one, and then he's another one. This is, if you go to page 374, he's sending out again another copy, legal aspects of hypnosis. So he really likes his book, right? So he's sending it out. He sent it out to the sophomore in high school, actually.
Wow.
So, but this is the one I think, and just not to spoil the fun, but as the documents go on, primarily it's looking at posse comitatus, use of military doctors and military personnel in conjunction with FBI and hypnosis. So most of this is going back and forth. This is violate posse comitatus, right? So towards the end of the document. But this one is quite interesting. This is page 377.
Hold on. Sorry to
go
break
ahead.
in. Let me read
Sure,
it.
man.
I found the reference.
Please.
I apologize. So this just to finish up on William Joseph Bryan and this crash. According to this book, Project Artichoke, Hemphill stated that they recruited Gonzalez in San Francisco with filmed adolescent sex, then used blackmail to help program him with poison and hypnosis at the Santa Rita farm, which is in the East Bay. Bob told me that Gonzalez was prepared by Bryan to crash the Reno to San Francisco bound commercial airliner into a satellite tracking station. Gonzalez was drugged while at the Palace Hotel in Reno. Then after a stop in Stockton was triggered when the plane started to descend near North Livermore Valley, which just coincides with the people who got off the plane at Stockton that I just mentioned, if you recall. According to the accident report, investigators discovered that Gonzalez had advised both friends and relatives that he would die either on Wednesday, May 6th or Thursday, May 7th. He referred to his impending death on a daily basis throughout the week preceding the incident. When the Fairchild F-27A with 43 other people started to descend over the safe house and mysterious ground-based wire antennae, Gonzalez, fully triggered, pulled out his gun, entered the cockpit, and shot the pilot, Ernest Clark. At 6:48 p.m., the aircraft radioed its last message. First Officer Raymond Andrus was heard saying, "Skipper shot. We've been shot, trying to help." Pacific Airlines Flight 773 actually flew over the Santa Rita farm. It's part of the book. It's like a mind control farm. Santa Rita farm and crashed into the side of a hill near San Ramon. Bob suggested the whole terrifying tragedy was filmed from the safe house. We film everything. So like a snuff film, they filmed it. Like the guys from Zodiac or Sons of Sam. This is the 60s. 64. Of the 44 people killed was San Francisco Police Inspector George F. Lacow. According to Hemphill, Bryan harbored a deep-rooted hatred for the SFPD and Lacow personally because of an argument that took place in the bar at the waterfront restaurant. According to Bob, they had to close the safe house at 225 Chestnut Street in San Francisco's North Beach. This is Midnight Climax. If you remember the story of Midnight Climax and all those stories with George White and Gittinger, this Brian is tangentially associated with us. And 225 Chestnut, if you read these other stories of the Midnight Climax, for people who know, that's it's in the North Beach. This is confirmed. So this book is like accurate on certain things. I don't know. It's pretty well. Because of local here concerning crime and complaints about reported adolescent prostitution. Hemphill further stated that days after the National Guard left the crash site, Brian celebrated evil with a black mass. Ooh. Bob made sure that we knew that they could do this to anyone. Bob harassed Arlene at the painting party the same way. Brian can make you do anything, make you kill that baby. This was followed up with the unexpected arrival and personal appearance of Dr. Brian for Leverage. He's a big boy. He's like over 300 pounds.
You know,
That's the story. So
this whole
really
thing,
crazy.
It's funny. Like the guy who flew the plane, they got him with blackmail of underage girls. I mean, like, what is Epstein doing? You know, what were they doing in Eyes Wide Shut in the Rainbow Room? Like, you know, what? This is the operation. That's how they get you.
Operation, right?
That's how they get you, man.
It has a ring of truth to it, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. Book is. I mean, it's probably when you find out these books are fringe books, it's probably they're super important. We know the FBI suppressed really important books. They would take books out of libraries. You have to remember, like Hoover they presented themselves as a law enforcement, but they were almost like reality shapers. They knew so much. And so we're only trying to, like, this is part of like separating the wheat from the chaff. Like there's so much chaff in history. Like, oh, the FBI didn't know anything. We've proven the FBI knew. All of the heads of the FBI knew very detailed information and knew the very detailed information from these guys who did mind control and hypnosis for decades. And this is just what's come from, like I said, I've repeated this. I'll repeat it again. This is just from Esther Brooks alone. Somebody needs to send a FOIA for Erickson, for all these, for Brian. Where's all these guys' files are so important if there's even extant, if they haven't been destroyed. So crazy story, man.
Yeah.
This is such an important document, guys. I just cannot. They're all here. Erickson, Esther Brooks, Brian. It's crazy.
Thank you, William, for bringing this.
Yeah,
great.
That's awesome because the couple this next letter, and then I don't know if we need to go through it. There's all this stuff of requisitions for audio recording. There's all this stuff for the video stuff, but this one, there's some allusions to it, and just to bear in mind for everybody, how much stuff was done in the 30s, and then it just kind of becomes very thin. You know, we had like 10 years, and there's not much there. But so this one is quite interesting, and this talks about frequency induction. Okay. And so that it's quite possible, using electronic means as well as, hypnotic command triggers, right? Where he's flying the plane over that. So, so this is, if you don't mind, would be page 377, or my 377, Leggett Bond. Do you see that?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I can do that if you want.
Oh, yeah.
On 31174 is the first.
Yeah, the 31574. Yeah, on 31174.
Yep,
correct.
yep. Okay. I'll take it if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. On 311, Leggett Bond, Director, FBI, redacted. On 31174, captioned individual telephonically contacted the Bureau to request an appointment to talk to a special agent. An appointment was arranged and blank later appeared in person with a sheaf of papers which he desired to have the Bureau retain and study as background information regarding his hypothesis that the human mind can be manipulated through hypnosis, microwave, and ultra shortwave radio on the body. I'm glad you brought this up, Hans. This looks important. Blank furnished 3 letters of reference from prominent German professors and advised that he is employed by a computer company in Cologne, is unmarried, and spent 1 year in the United States at Hopkins, Minnesota, as an exchange student about 20 years ago. He said he was spending 3 weeks in the United States and was bringing his files to the attention of the FBI as he felt that the Bureau was the premier law enforcement agency in the world. Blank spent some time explaining his theories, but said they were all documented in the material he was leaving, which included a copy of his published book, Mechanismen der Manipulation. That's the title of the book. Blank explained that he has been interested in mind manipulation for many years and advised that when he attended the Free University in Berlin, he was a student activist for liberal causes, but has always been anti-communist. He continued that since the publication of his book in 1970, he has felt that because of his past student activities and the appearance of his book, he is the subject of mind manipulation by the Soviets. A portion of blank material makes reference to a news article which received wide dissemination in May 1972 to the effect that the Russians had used microwaves against the American embassy in Moscow in order to cause psychological damage to the American diplomats. It reminds me of the Cuba thing too, the clicking noise. The
Havana syndrome.
Right.
That is a document that is totally documented. So everyone was getting sick in the embassy, right? People were getting all kinds of conditions. So people even died. So they were that definitely happened, and that's a real incident. So,
right.
Yeah.
And they made it sound like it was just a clicky noise, right? But it was really detrimental to these people.
Well, there's the woodpecker signal.
Yeah.
Right. But then this was where, and this was, I think, over a period of a year or two, the American embassy in Russia was actually blasted with these frequencies. So it's sort of like what recently happened in Cuba, right? But then people, there are all kinds of, memory loss, hair loss, even like I said, even death. I mean, so
Wow.
that's absolutely factual. So yeah.
It's amazing how they can cause hair loss even. Okay, going on. Another reference is made to blank. Okay, this letter to Bonn regarding
I'm sure
blank.
it's Solzhenitsyn. It's because he wrote the Gulag Archipelago.
Right. Very integral book. Everybody should read that. Okay. Another reference is made to Solzhenitsyn and his book, The Gulag Archipelago, wherein he states that absolutely reliable is the report that the NKWD maintained a school for hypnosis in the 30s.
Wow, incredible. I got to find that reference.
Blank continued that his purpose in leaving this material with the Bureau was to have the appropriate persons read over and digest it, thereby being in a position to counteract it and be able to tell others how to counteract it. The material consists of 4 folders labeled as follows: background information, experimental investigation, references, publications. Also included, as mentioned above, was a copy of his book. Blank asked the interviewing agent if he could be re-interviewed after this material was digested. He was advised that this would probably not be possible as he was leaving Washington within 3 days, and it was not felt that this material could be digested by the appropriate people in that short period of time. It is felt that he may at some time contact the American embassy in Bonn. BU files contain no information concerning blank. BU files?
I think that's Bureau files.
Oh, okay. Note, footnote, although Shapitz feels that he is the subject of a psychological attack, so that's his name, Shapitz. It was redacted above, but okay. SCHAPITZ feels that he is the subject of a psychological attack by the Soviets. He is extremely well-spoken, speaks fluent English, and does not give the impression of being aberrant. Although the data he left seems to be quite technical, S.A. Ralph W. Engelmeyer, in reviewing it, feels that it may be worthy of review by both the laboratory and intelligence divisions, in view of the fact that Shapitz has apparently gone to considerable trouble to compile information in this field into 3 of the folders which he furnished. That's the end of that.
Yeah, and so there's some allusions to that. So we're talking about, again, this microwave technology, radio frequency technology, everything that was described in what you read, William, right? About that. But also the note that this guy is supplying all this information to the FBI when most likely the FBI is actually engaging in this very same thing. You guys are just number one. I love you guys. Help me. Yeah, right. Okay.
Statist punk. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this gets through, but we see pretty much, we're in the 70s now. It's very thin, right? I mean, in terms of what, we see further, basically primarily it's a debate about using military personnel in FBI hypnotic sessions and posse comitatus. So these long, we can get, if you want to read through these, all these legal briefs and how does it violate posse comitatus or not. The Army of God, as mentioned, I know I'm kind of skimming, but primarily, I think in this way, the thing is, it's almost like, we just started doing it. I mean, they've been doing this since the 30s. This is 40 years, and they're acting like, does a hypnosis get information from a witness? You know what I mean? So I think, to a certain extent, you could say that some of this is not necessarily a cover-up, but it's like they're using hypnosis way before, this, and they're acting like, we're just discovering the use of hypnosis for witnesses. But
we just got to do some more tests, guys. Just keep giving money.
Let's see.
Can you read the next one by William S. Kroger, William Saul Kroger? I've got some screenshots for
Which
you.
page is that?
It's the one right after hypnosis and
Okay.
truthfulness. It seems to be just like a snippet, but he's an important part of the whole story.
Okay, we were at 77.
It's 378 is what I have.
378. Yeah, okay. Hypnosis versus truthfulness. Regarding the story, Russo hypnotized, March 317. That's okay.
I think that's actually, excuse me, but that's actually from the Garrison thing against, what was the guy's name? What was the guy's name he tried to criminally, Garrison in the JFK case? He actually hypnotized the kind of main witness for the prosecution, which was Russo. So I think that's what it's actually referencing.
Okay.
Russo was his name. What was the guy's name who he arrested? Not Guy Bannister. It's somebody in the chat knows.
You know better than I do. Yeah, I rely on you for
I see
knowing
his
these things.
face, but I can't remember his name right now. Clay Shaw, thank you, Southwest. Yes, Clay Shaw. So Russo was the claim. He was played by Kevin Bacon in the JFK film.
Right.
I'm sorry. Please continue. Sorry.
May I, as the result of over 35 years of experience with hypnosis, emphasize that a person's statements made while hypnotized have no more validity than those made at so-called non-hypnotic levels. In other words, the credibility of an individual's testimony under hypnosis can be challenged in as much as a person can distort the truth under hypnosis. Thus, an individual may develop screen memories where he misremembers. That's important for SRA. People should know about that, screen memories. However, hypnosis can result in better recall of mnemonic material because of the associated relaxation, concentration, and greater objectivity. Experts can tell whether a person is lying while under hypnosis only through a more sophisticated method such as a polygraph, which scientifically measures psychological and physiological responses. William S. Kroger, medical doctor, executive director, Institute of Comprehensive Medicine, Beverly Hills.
Another creep, man. Another freaking creep. There he is as a medical student. If you see some to your doctor with these eyes, run for your life.
That guy's like, I mean, whoa.
Yeah. He actually looks normal here, but he wrote Clinical and Experimental Hypnosis. Experimental Hypnosis revised fairly recently, but he wrote a lot of these books. But this is the most important one. Hypnosis and behavior modification, imagery conditioning. And when you see a lot of these guys, they have like these images in their brain. And this is how sophisticated it gets. It's really scary. This is an advance on Ericksonian hypnosis. Kroger came after that, headquartered in LA. And he came up with this. We've already talked about the electrogalvanometer, right? This is his technique for detecting lying. It's called the brainwave synchronizer. And I'll read the blurb. The American physician, Dr. William S. Kroger, 1906-1995, spent his career in obstetrics and in psychology. He had a lifelong interest in hypnosis, was a founding member of several organizations in hypnosis and in other fields of alternative, non-traditional medicine. Interesting. During World War II, he observed that pulsing lights on a radar screen mimic the frequencies of brain waves, right? Didn't we go into EEG waves or something like that?
Yeah. Just, if you want to throw out real quick, just like I mentioned that EMDR. Oh, she was walking through the park and she noticed as she moved her eyes from side to side, her traumatic memories got less. So again, what he's observing the pulsing lights and he's in battle and he's saying, oh, it's like the brainwaves. You know what I mean? So it's one of those sort of mythological stories. But yeah, go ahead, Martin. So.
Pulsing lights on a radar screen mimicked frequencies in brainwaves and could cause a trance in some operators. He later worked with the inventor Sidney Schneider to perfect a machine that could induce hypnosis for medical purposes. So this machine is literally a creepy spy briefcase. Like this is what he puts it out. But look at these pictures. They introduced the brainwave synchronizer in 1959. Manufactured by Schneider Instruments, it uses a light that flashes at the frequencies of alpha, beta, and delta brainwaves. In the 1960s, the device was used both to provide analgesia pain relief to women in labor and as an aid to general anesthesia and surgery. It fell out of favor when it was found to induce epileptic seizures. Today, hypnosis is one of the techniques of pain medicine. And there's what it looked like. You can see brainwave synchronizer right there on the right. And it literally has a handle. You can't quite see it in this picture, but like you could literally just bring it in and plop it down. And there's the delta, alpha, and beta ranges. It's incredible stuff. There's the handle right there. So it shows you it's like a briefcase size.
It's not like an installed thing. Unfortunately, I got rid of this. I had this like white noise generator thing that was used in that late 50s, but that's a briefcase model. That's portable.
Bro, look at this. Nobody
you just
would
show
know
up.
either.
Oh my God. You show up with that.
Why don't you lie back and look into this light, Bob, or whatever.
Go to see your guidance counselor,
Kroger.
I just want to quit smoking, guys. Oh, I'll look at that. Okay.
You've mentioned the control of Candy Jones, Sean. Kroger is mentioned under a pseudonym as one of Candy Jones's handlers, as well as potentially William Joseph Bryan. So she's surrounded by them. I used to look at this book and like go, it's just not possible and probable. And now that I look at these guys, it's like, whoa, this is possibly it. I have like a bio of Kroger here somewhere. I gotta find it. But it's extraordinary because it ties into. I'll find out what his fake name was. Let's see. Kroger's work on hypnosis inevitably intersected with the era's paranoia over mind control fueled by Cold War tensions. Declassified CIA documents reference his book Clinical and Experimental. Well, I have the document actually. Clinical and Experimental Hypnosis as a foundational research into behavioral manipulation, including in the USSR. This places him in the orbit of MKUltra that explored hypnosis. The most sensational allegation stems from the case of Candy Jones. It's not a real name. Forgot what it is. 1940s pinup model and radio host. In her book, Control of Candy Jones, co-authored with her husband, Donald Bain, Jones claimed under hypnosis that she was recruited by the CIA as a courier in mind control experiments. She identified Kroger as, quote, Dr. Gilbert Jensen, quote, a pseudonym for the hypnotist who allegedly used narco-hypnosis, drug-assisted hypnosis, to create her alter ego. And so what you realize is that Gottlieb communicated with West under a fake name too. So you have to assume that all of these guys, Esther Brooks, had a fake name. Remember the Saul missives or whatever that entity was. That was done under a fake name. Remember where he was channeling that thing in upstate New York?
Oh yeah.
What was the name of the channeled entity? That's super important.
Seth.
The Seth channels, right.
Right.
So Esther Brooks has a fake name there. Kroger has a fake name. We know West has a fake name. Her alter ego was named Arlene. She described sessions involving injections, electrodes, and trauma to split her personality. While Kroger never publicly addressed these claims and skeptics dismissed Jones's claims, the timing aligns with MKUltra. Declassified files confirm the CIA-funded hypnosis research at institutions where Kroger lectured, and his expertise in imagery conditioning, which I just showed the cover of his book, right? I can go back there. Hypnosis and behavior modification, imagery conditioning. mirrors programs' goals of programmable behavior. Martin Cannon's The Controllers further speculates that Kroger's role in hidden government research linking hypnosis to electronic brain stimulation in non-consensual experiments. Concrete evidence remains circumstantial. Yeah. So these guys are dirty, man. They have front personalities. Yeah.
Not really.
No, absolutely. And it was so valuable bringing that up because, so again, Williams, Jenny, right, he's sending out the book to you. Yeah, I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm a young girl. Here, read, meet William, 300 pounds of love. You know, right,
I got to find that quote of his. It's real.
But
I think it's even in his Wikipedia page. Let me see if I can find it.
But what you see is that, again, they were started this in the 30s. You know, as this document, you know, we're getting towards the end. This stuff must have, I mean, they have vast resources. They have, you know, and it's not like this stuff was even at the very beginning, you know, this electric light, electronic simulation, they're trying all these different methods, right? So that brainwave synchronizer is obviously pretty advanced, but then you got the merry pranksters and the psychedelic light shows using what? A lot of this advanced hypnotic technology, right? At the early, you know, Walter Penfield and all those guys, you know, early stroboscopic photic driving, as I've mentioned, is one of the earliest things that was looked into. But you have this whole plethora. You've got drugs, you've got, you know, linguistic, lexical hypnosis, you have, I mean, all kinds of stuff, right? And even these like facial tics that are programmed in so you can read a person. I mean, so there's so much is there. And, you know, I think, you know, we could, you know, a little bit deeper, you start pulling the stuff apart. You see, probably they are, I mean, Esther Brooks is talking about in the 30s about, well, they're talking about hypnotizing people to commit crimes, right? They're talking about information couriers. They're talking, you know, and then look at that police document where they're talking about very advanced levels of hypnosis, right? And now you're here in the 70s. Oh, can we use hypnosis to interview suspects? How does it work? Will it work? So, you know what I mean? So I think that there's a lot there. And again, this is a precursor to tie these threads into MKUltra. So it is.
This document is going to be people in anything it'll have to show up. I will see if they'll give us credit for doing the work we did because this document's so important. But Kroger is really something else. The quote that Brian said about having sex with his patients is, I just lost it again. Shoot. He said to Playboy in '64, "I enjoy variety and I like to get to know people on a deep emotional level. One way of getting to know people is through intercourse."
Whoa. And he's talking to Playboy, dude.
Yeah, like it's in a Playboy interview.
But I mean, Playboy uses that. I mean, those models are often victims of this type of treatment, like Marilyn Monroe famously, she was their first copy. That Playboy #1 was Marilyn Monroe.
So here's another one, Kroger and crime. I'll try to do more research for our next show because this is kind of interesting because it ties into, I'm pretty sure this influenced the Eastwood film, the first Dirty Harry. I could be wrong. But it's a famous story in California. The youngsters and the drivers were kidnapped in a bus. They were driven to a gravel quarry 100 miles away and forced into an abandoned trailer truck buried 6 feet underground. 16 hours later, the captives managed to dig themselves out and were soon rescued. The FBI quickly interrogated them, but found no answer to the question, who are the abductors? To help crack the case, the Bureau called in William S. Kroger. So these guys are known to the FBI, an authority on medical hypnosis. Kroger sat with Chowchilla bus driver Ed Ray in a Fresno motel room and told him to fix his eyes on a spot on the wall and breathe deeply. 20 minutes later, Ray was under hypnosis. Dr. Kroger then led him through a playback of the kidnapping. The ploy worked. The driver was able to recall all but one digit of the license plate on the kidnapper's white van. The information helped authorities track down 3 suspects who go on trial later this month. A successful tool. Though the FBI says it uses hypnosis sparingly, mesmerizing consenting witnesses is on the increase as a police investigative tool. The Los Angeles Police Department has worked with the technique since 1970, noting the U.S. Kroger and 9 other medical hypnotists trained 14 LAPD officers in the technique, which dates back at least to ancient Egypt. Says LAPD Captain Richard Sandstrom, who is currently evaluating the work of the force's new Svengali squad, hypnosis gives utterly fantastic results.
This squad, that's quite telling, right? Wow.
It's funny. It all goes back to ancient Egypt. Do you remember that hierarchical system where there was a king leader and then there was the serfs under him that had to, be like subject to the king? And
how many people in history have been subjected to this stuff? Yeah, like right. They say that the Egyptians got the idea of that because the snake, the cobra hypnotizes its victim before it kills them. Like it stares them down or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, crazy. This document's incredible. Anyway, I'm going to go through some of these comments.
Yeah, comments, please. That's great.
So do you guys think Donald uses hypnosis when he talks with his hands? What do you guys think?
I did a lot of work on gesture analysis, in speech. So there's a tremendous amount there of, you can actually get, there's even, ways to track. In fact, I have this whole program, that I use. You can look all these different variables, linguistic variables, situational, this and that, what type of gesture, tracking the gesture related to word, diction, intonation, word emphasis, et cetera, et cetera. Very potentially. I mean, most people, the communication with gesture is done, it just kind of is another level of communication, the way people move their hands, right? And it can add a lot, but I mean, absolutely. And it is something really, in fact, I did this more just for like academic stuff. It would be kind of fun to take that thing. You can do time code tracking, and actually with all the different, variants, you can get a lot of information and directly correlate. If he is using hypnosis, I certainly could find out quite easily. And there's so it's possible. The thing is, stuff that can be very subtle, like timing, periodicity, which means, something occurring over time. As I mentioned, informational content, situational embeddedness, all these things kind of factor in. But that'd be an interesting thing to check out. Maybe I'll look, maybe next show I'll do a little analysis of Donald.
Do some research. Yeah.
Hopefully ICE doesn't come. Deport me back to Somalia. There's a Juba daycare down from my house, so that maybe they'll send
me there. Leering center. Is there a leering center?
It's a leering center. They have this like creepy green frog on their bus. It's like, I don't want to get in that bus. Juba. They also have like Juba groceries.
Oh
Anyways, but maybe I'll get picked up by them if I. But yeah, no, it's good to look into. But I think no, but you can see like someone like Trump very easily could be doing type of Ericksonian hypnosis, right? And you can see it a lot in type of public speakers, public figures. But then you're looking at also again media placement. There's all these other variables, including like light. There could be stroboscopic light. There could be figures in the background. People doing weird, what I mean, especially things that are perceived subconsciously. People making certain gestures out of frame that your unconscious mind is seeing every single thing, right? But you're not consciously perceiving it. So that would be an interesting study. Yeah.
Armchair Assassins says, appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Sorry for the off-topic question. What happened to all your Visigoth uploads? They're not disappeared. They're on Spreaker somewhere. There's about 6 or 7 archives. There's probably over 800 or 900 episodes now. And they're actually now being transported onto YouTube. So you can go type in William Ramsey Investigates on YouTube and listen to them there, or you can listen to them through Spreaker. So they are there.
A little comment on Trump, just saying that he represents the ego ideal, doesn't he? And everybody is infantilized and they haven't grown up, and then they look at Trump like he's the alpha monkey. Isn't he being that character, with his boisterous, alpha male energy, and everybody just follows along. Oh yeah, grab him by the pussy, whatever. It's just, that's what they do. Like, that he's created this idea of like what manliness is, and like you wear a red hat to be tough guy. It's really weird.
No doubt. Barto says, have you gents heard of the somewhat recent psychology research into a possible new level of consciousness they call the superintelligence? I have not. Have you guys heard that?
No, I mean,
what does it mean though, superintelligence?
Yeah, I mean, so essentially, there already is a superintelligence. If you can, the unconscious mind is vast and immensely powerful, but you have to know how to access it and program it. I mean, people can have amazing abilities, right? I mean, people can, speed read an entire 400-page book in an hour and remember every word. So, when I see something like that, immediately I think, what's behind this? Just because of the permeation I mentioned, like second order cybernetics into so many disciplines of psychology. And I'm not, it's coming from the top, like a pyramidal drop down structure. People may not even know they're doing that, but there's so much embedded in so many therapies that are actually just, they're just recreating things. They're creating internal cybernetic loops. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So, but I'd have to look into it. It just seems like, people have talked about, the Buddha talked about superintelligence. That's about 3,000 years ago. So it's not that, it doesn't seem that new to me, but maybe it is, maybe if you buy the Trump phone for $500,
yeah,
he sold 600,000 and no one has got one yet.
You got to get the Trumpy bear. You remember that?
No, I love Trump. I'm sorry, Donald.
I'm sure you do.
I know you're watching, Donald. Thumbs up.
Of course.
Through Palantir, he's watching everything, guys.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
No,
Somebody asked, what about hypnosis? Highview asked. You guys want to answer that? Either of you?
Go ahead.
I
can answer it, but
please do.
Okay. Dehypnosis. So this is the difficulty is that the recognition of the light trance state to be able to catch yourself or mind, like when you kind of go blank, you kind of start doing things kind of robotically, you're suddenly doing something, it's you're going to go into a state of sort of unconsciousness, but there's going to be a trigger. If you could start to catch that or track that, I mean, people space out all the time, this and that, but there's going to be either types of images, types of, especially internal dialogue, this kind of thing. So it's kind of a complex topic, but yeah, absolutely you can. You just have to come from outside of that, right? So you have to come from outside what you call your normal conscious framing, because your consciousness is going to be inserted into this field, right? Your consciousness has sort of a filtering, the reticular activating system is sort of creating your reality. So you have to be able to step back from that. But yeah, certainly it certainly can be done. But it just takes noticing, right? And so, it's not so much as bad as say like, people have lost time. They don't remember, they lose all these hours of their life, but there's certainly, if something you're interested in personally, that, shoot me an email, whatever. But yeah, it certainly can be done because again, these are imposed structures. You just have to pull apart the base. You cannot do it from within the system. Like if anything is within sort of a programmed hypnotic command consciousness framing, anything done with that, that's what I mentioned, all these therapies. It's just going to keep reimplanting it. It's just going to keep making it deeper. You cannot escape from within that field. But however, the good news is you're not that limited particular container field of that. So big question. I'll just leave it there for now. So.
Yeah, if you're watching this, you can see what the Visigoth archives look like. There's like 6 or 7 volumes. You can just type it into Google or you can go to Spreaker. I think you should be able to just bounce around Spreaker and see them all. The problem is that Visigoth, he had all these other titles for his shows. Beyond the Grassy Knoll, Think or Be Eaten, Visigoth Live, those were his live shows, the Lembic Files. So I just put them all under the Visigoth archives. So people can go check those out. People are still listening to them. And I've reposted a lot of the recent shows, things with the Collins Bros. Blues John's Traveler asks, have you heard anything about hemispheric isolation research? I haven't. Do you guys want to answer that?
That's where they separate the left and the right and stimulate both sides at the same time in different frequencies. Is that like a binaural beats type?
Didn't we discuss that last time or the time before, something like that?
I think Hans knows a lot about that too.
Well, there's stuff where you sever the connection of the two cortexes, right? So there's been invasive. There's all kinds of research on that. Specifically that's I don't know exactly what they're referring to, but yeah, I mean there's a variety of things on that, but this includes pretty hardcore things. Even the Soviet Union, what this part of the brain does, so just cut it out, see what happens. So but there are ways to stimulate hemispheres. But I want to say the super intelligence, I just looked that up. So this is where the AI completely surpasses humanity. It makes everything is integrated. All of your decision making, all of your behavior is going through the AI. Human identity and selfhood, creating digital clones, virtual therapists. So yeah, it sounds pretty. So super intelligence, if that's what we're talking about,
THX 1138.
It's like basically you can't even take a piss without asking the AI. I mean, it sounds pretty rough. I certainly hope that doesn't happen.
One thing about the split brain, Kerry Olahe talks about with the programmers, the SRA programmers have a specific type where they will sever the left from the right and they program each one separately. And the Reich Saddler, the double-headed eagle with the crown above, is symbolism which relates to that phenomenon, and it's a trigger also for people that are programmed to for their internal loyal alters that are loyal to the crown and the hierarchy to take over. But that split brain is a technique, a specific one of the ways of programming that they use.
This one document, I meant to bring this up about Kroger, and this is also for you, Hans. It's parapsychology in the USSR. We did that whole long show on Soviet cybernetics. This is really interesting. But I think at the very end, they mention Kroger somewhere here. I think it's...
Yeah, no,
there it is. Okay. Medical hypnosis is used intensively in the art of the USSR. Primary work, chemical and experimental hypnosis by William S. Kroger, serves as the groundwork for the basis of corresponding intended research. So that's pretty interesting. I'm gonna send that's a CIA proof release.
Yeah, no, that I mean, so there's actually I think there's several books. There's one I think in the 70s, like psych research in Soviet Union. Yeah, they were far ahead and they started in right about the beginning of the Soviet Union, and they had that was one of the main, you know, they didn't really care if people ate food, but let's go, research that. Yeah, so they had very very advanced research over 60 years, 70 years, and far generally speaking. The United States was, just catch up. So that, yeah, I mean, even like that, the remote viewing and stuff. I mean, it's quite extensive, and that it's actually a fascinating topic. But yeah, so that
it says here the Russian scientists and lady have been researching various parapsychological phenomena for decades before the 1917 October Revolution.
That's wild. Okay. Before, so that.
If only we had those documents.
Mid 19th century,
bro. Well, okay, wait till I break out. Wait till I break out my Rasputin materials. You guys are gonna. Your mind is gonna go.
Is that document we did in the show?
No, I got something way better for you.
No, I mean this document. What is that?
I meant to reference this because it had Kroger in it. I referenced it in the materials where it said Kroger was influential in Russia. And then this is the document that proves that it was because they're referencing him.
So 1850s. So that, wow. Okay, that's new.
Mid 19th century, right? This is. I don't know where the CIA document comes from. Guys, I think I'm pretty much spent. I feel like I've been sitting here for 3 hours because I've been sitting here for 3 hours. Thanks to everybody for listening. Epic. Yeah. 180 live listeners. Great comments. Great comments in the chat, so kudos to the chat. Hats off. If I had a hat, I could put a hat on, I guess, and take it off to you. Let me see. I can put my dumb LA hat on. So let's go. Hats off to everybody. Hats off to Sean and Ons. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I know it's not my show, but
hey, thank you, William.
I'm throwing in the towel. I should throw in the towel, too.
I was pretty tired. I was like, man, I could before we started, I can just go to sleep. I'm not going to drink coffee, but I just got energized by all this wonderful information. And
yeah, for real. It's so like it's like, oh my God, everything we keep finding. It's every episode is just I'm flabbergasted every time. It's really great. Thank you, William, for bringing this information.
I think Sean has mentioned this high view that marijuana is supposedly kind of an antidote for
yes. Yeah, it does.
Sean would know, man, because you're
that's for sure. Yeah, no, cannabis for sure. It thins the veil between the partitions with the mind control, the split brain type stuff, the multiple personality. That dissolves, the programming dissolves under cannabis use and under long-term cannabis use, and their subconscious memories get unlocked, and it kind of messes up all their order that they've created in the brain. So, it stops the dreaming. So whatever they're programmed to dream is not happening anymore. It helps people to reconnect with their body, and the body has memories. So there's a lot to the cannabis relation to that, and people should look into that and see where it goes. You'll learn a lot.
Yeah, great. William, please send me that CI document you wrote.
I'll send it to you right now.
All right, and yeah, just real quick. So the hemispheric or isolation, it was a treatment for epilepsy, right? So you just cut the two brain hemispheres, or you're not going to have seizures. So this was done. I mean, the studies came from that particular treatment, right? So it was used again to prevent epilepsy. You cut the corpus callosum, and then you have. But one of the weird things about the split brain things is the hemispheres would communicate with each other, but like separate people. So the left hemisphere would, say generate a story for why the right hemisphere did something, or this vice versa. And so it's pretty. pretty wild. So
That's proof of what Carrie was talking about when they cut this, they sever it, and then they program each one separately like that. That's
they physically cut it, or
physically. Well, they separate. I got to talk to her some more. We got to learn more about that.
yeah, no, it can be. It was done surgically. It was,
Well, they would operate on these poor victims.
Well,
They would
then
do all
sure.
kinds of stuff. They would bring them into military bunkers and subject them to all kinds of stuff, and it was an ongoing thing. So I'm sure they would get implants. It's ruthless what they had to endure.
Yeah. Well, great, guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to the audience. And
Yes,
Yeah.
likewise. Everybody should visit WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com and should visit HansUtter.com and should, donate. And everybody, thank you for listening. And we appreciate you listening. Thank you.
And it looks like there will be many other future shows. I think we kind of agreed that we're going to continue even after we're done with this document. There's a lot more information, a lot of different takes. So expect a lot more shows in this series. And
we're going to go forward in the timeline too. Like we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about the operations that have happened that we know about in the history. It's
that we know
interesting.
about. That's the other thing. It's like really crazy. Where can people find your stuff?
okay, so you can find. I've got my old radio show. That's other people have the material, but it's there. You can go to BitChute, Rumble, Spotify, YouTube, Odyssey, and some other associated chip platforms. You put it in the Resonant State. I think a couple of may come up as Eyes Wide Open, Hans Utter, but yeah, and it's all over there. And check it out. Please join the party, man. And I actually realize I'm getting virtually deprogrammed because I'm in training with Sean Smoking, and so my mind control programming is less. So thank you, brother.
I'll smoke another for you, buddy. Yeah.
Good. And William, your
mine
site?
is William Ramsey Investigates. You can check that out. And like I mentioned in the show, the Visigoth archives are still relevant. He did great shows. I've reposted some. The Collins Brothers Magicians of Mutabilities from 2005. And it reads fresh. Like they were so keyed into so many things about 9/11 I didn't know about. And their frame of reference is really extraordinary. So check those out. He's had great guests. I'm still adding to it. I had to go back through, and some of them aren't up because he didn't care about copyright at all. So I have to take out some of the old songs and things like that. But you can find them. Most of the ones, Spreaker doesn't seem to care as much. So if you go to Spreaker and type in the Visigoth Archives, Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you'll find them. I just separated them in 150 parts because there's so many, it just seems easier to go through them. And I haven't really even, cataloged them all correctly, which I really should do, but time willing. But and then Sean is Wake the Dead, right? Your podcast.
Yeah. So where do we find your work?
Yeah, Wake the Dead. I post everything at onegreatworknetwork.com/Sean-McCann. And you can find me. It's, Wake the Dead. It's Spotify and Apple and Google and, all of those. And also Odyssey and BitChute and Rumble and sometimes YouTube. So today we're streaming on YouTube. So you can find Wake the Dead all those places.
And yeah, by the way, I want to say I'm on the same network with Sean.
That's right.
I have gotten it up and running. It's getting there. So I just have to add it to my list of where I'm posting stuff. So
Right.
One Great Network, Hans Utter or something.
Yeah, onegreatworknetwork.com/Hans-Utter. That's right. That's what it'll be. Yeah.
It
All right,
was.
guys. Until
That's
next
great.
time.
Thank you
50's
again.
down.
Bye bye.
We'll see you next
All the
time.
best. Peace.
Bye-bye.